You are looking live at the newly renovated Las Vegas Motor Speedway, complete with higher banks, giving us higher speeds and higher risks. And the Busch boys have traversed some 7,000 miles to get here. From Daytona to California to Mexico and now Vegas, these Busch boys are ready for round 4. Like a band of renegade road trippers, hell-bent on leaving their mark from Daytona to Mexico City, the boys of the Busch Series showed their fans and even their teammates it's every man for himself.
There's contact. Montoya and Pruitt come together. They spin around.
Of all the people to take you out, your teammate. I mean, that was just no good, low, nasty, dirty driving.
When I was there, he just turned and I had nowhere to go. I feel really sorry about him.
We worked hard to try to build a team that could work together, and it's tough.
Open up the NASCAR history books. Juan Pablo Montoya has won it here at Mexico City.
Now this full throttle poker run is rambling and gambling its way to Las Vegas. Kicking up dust and envy in the wake of his swagger, Kyle Busch returns to his hometown. While other Nextel Cup racers, led by Tony Stewart, cruise into the desert, flexing their own poker-faced confidence. This is Vegas, where anything and everything goes. Fast, all in, flat out, the life, the action, the adrenaline-fueled pulse of letting it ride on 4 wheels of steel and a driver of even greater strength. A brand new track with all the glitz and glamour of the strip, attracting the rambling, gambling high rollers of NASCAR with higher banks, higher stakes, and the fastest speeds ever. Busch Series fans, welcome to fabulous Las Vegas and the baddest 300-mile race in the desert. And it is a beautiful day to go racing. You see the cars moving out to the grid. A year ago, we had snowflakes. Today, we're going to have temperature into the 80s. Welcome, everybody. I'm Brett Musburger. We got one great lineup coming your way on Countdown. We've got 26 Cup regulars who are going to be racing today. All the talk now is about the renovated Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The new pavement and the higher banking. Is it good for racing? Could it be too dangerous? The Pit Studio gang will discuss Juan Pablo Montoya's move in Mexico on Scott Pruitt and set the stage for the race. Now, here are the men starting up front. Kevin Harvick, he's back, folks, and he's on the pole in Vegas with a new track record of 181+ miles an hour. There are 26 bushwhackers in the field. 10 take up the first 5 rows. Most notably, Casey Kane. He'll have the pole tomorrow in the Cup race, and he won here last year on Saturday. And yes, Tony Stewart is running. He'll start in row 9. Montoya all the way back in 35th. And one other thing I know, folks, we got all the angles covered with our crew. And to start our coverage, we go trackside. Here's Mike Massaro. Mike?
Well, Brent, just like the roulette wheels that are scattered throughout downtown Las Vegas, this race, completely unpredictable. The reason? A new tire, new asphalt, and a dramatically reconfigured racetrack. All variables that figure into today what could be a mystery for all teams. Jamie.
Well, Mike, one thing that's no mystery in Las Vegas, the Busch brothers are the local heroes. Older brother Kurt Busch, he's never started in a Busch Series race until today. Younger brother Kyle, he started here. This is his 4th start. Now, what's surprising, neither driver has won on their home turf. You can bet there's a sibling rivalry as both wants to take home their first win in front of the hometown crowd. Dave?
Jamie, for the first time in a year, the NASCAR Busch Series has a new points leader. Carl Edwards finished 4th at Mexico last week and takes over the top spot. But he qualified deep in the field today, so before today's race is over, we may have yet another shift in the points. Alan?
Already this weekend here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, a dozen cars have hit the wall during practice and qualifying. That's way beyond a number seen in a normal race weekend. What kind of a race will we see today? Well, most in the garage think it's going to be the kind of race that the guys who fix these cars don't very much look forward to. We'll talk about why coming up on NASCAR Countdown.
T-minus 10, 9, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Another look as our grid moves into position. 43 cars on this glorious Saturday afternoon. Jamie mentioned Kurt Busch. He'll be starting in row 2. Brother Kyle back in row 10. And you know, folks, you know, demolition in the city of Vegas, well, that's just normal. Let's take it back to 1993. The Dunes Hotel and Casino was imploded. 1995, the Landmark Hotel and Casino came tumbling down. Then 1998, it was the famous Aladdin Hotel and Casino. That was taken down. And holding true to tradition, the Las Vegas Motor Speedway began demolition last March. It was rebuilt in 1 short year, and we're just about ready to go racing. But for more on the changes to this track and to help get us ready now for the race, let's head down to our ESPN pit studio. Here's Chris Fowler, Tim Brewer, Brad Doherty. Chris.
All right, Brent, you've taken down a few casinos yourself in your time. Guys, unpredictability, the word that we keep hearing in the garage area. No one quite sure how the changes of this track, Tim, are going to affect the actual racing. Now, the curves are steeper. You hear the guys talking about that. You can see the old on the left, 12-degree banking in those turns. Now it's tilted up to 20 degrees. And notice how much narrower those turns are. The distance between that white line and the wall, 18 feet less than it used to be on the new side. So that means more speed. They've had to adjust the tires, Tim, because of that. How is all this going to translate into the races we're going to see this weekend?
It's going to be a tough day for everybody. You know, the drivers, you know, they've been here. They understand the banking accelerates speed. The speed, you've got less recovery time because you got a narrower surface to recover on. The new pavement, tremendous amount of grip. These guys are going to be flying down in that corner, and it's kind of bumpy down there in 1 and 2. That's where the cars have a tendency to bounce around a little bit, get out of shape. The guys got to carry a lot of speed off the corner. They're not going to get out of that throttle. That's where that wall comes into effect.
Yeah, and you hear Tim talk about grip, and with that grip comes a tremendous amount of load on these race cars, especially that right front tire. And the concern that resonates throughout the garage is tire failure. All of these guys are extremely concerned with these tires giving up. So subsequently, Goodyear comes with the hardest tire compound ever in the history of their tires here. And also the left side tires, which are traditionally a little bit softer, they're going to be harder. They're trying to slow these cars down and create durability. But it's going to be an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, harder, slower, safer tire. It's going to be a day for pit stops because the fuel cells have been reduced to 13 gallons, so I'm premium on pit stops. And all your former crew chief buddies, they're so grumpy down there in the garage. I know these guys love to whine and moan, but there's an extra amount of complaining this week.
They didn't have a bad night in this casino, folks. They're in a situation where this is a tough animal out here. This big black monster back here, it creates havoc. You know, race car drivers, they love speed. But there again, they're in a situation to where it's going to be devastating if something goes wrong down there in the middle of the corner.
Now, this whole city's built on luck and chance. Why not roll the dice, see how they come up,
roll
huh?
the dice, see what happens. I think we're in for a heck of a race today. It's going to be interesting to see how these tires hold up and how the teams use their strategies.
All right, we'll talk much more about how we expect this race to unfold as we continue to count down to the green flag. There is Juan Pablo Montoya. We'll talk about his exploits in Mexico City as he took out his teammate Scott Pruitt, got the checkered flag, but the NASCAR world still talking about this. What does the concept of teammates mean in this sport? And Tony Stewart, one of the 26 Cup regulars driving in the Busch race. What about the risk versus the reward of trying to pull off the double? Stewart knows about that very well. And we'll take you to the desert with Greg Biff, a little different kind of racing for one of the favorites here today. Stick around. ESPN on ABC counting down to the green flag in the Busch Series.
Driving in a fast car.
Sunday in Mexico City, the Busch race. 8 laps to go. Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 takes out teammate Scott Pruitt. Ends up taking the checkered flag. Pruitt said no way he thought his teammate was close enough to make that move. Pruitt finishing in 5th place and leading Mexico City's team.
Take out your teammate. I mean, that was just no good, low, nasty, dirty driving. It's just so disappointing. We talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it in the meetings. He's faster than me, you know, we'll work it out, he can go, you know, but not take each other out. That's just bad driving.
Well, Montoya disagrees. They kind of tried to kiss and make up with the statement this week, but we'll see down the line. Reminiscent of what happened in a cup race in Talladega last October when Brian Vickers got into the back end of his teammate Jimmy Johnson in a bump draft, took him out. Johnson's racing for the chase. He was livid afterwards, ended up recovering, of course, and winning the chase championship. But with teammates like that, who needs enemies out here? Here's Shannon Spake on the unique concept of teammates amid the cutthroat competition of NASCAR.
You know, there's never any team orders in our teams, but the one team order is don't crash into each other.
And there's contact. Montoya and Pruitt come together through the grass and dirt goes Montoya.
Of all the people to take you out, your teammate. I mean, that was just no good, low, nasty, dirty driving.
I feel really sorry about him, but, you know.
Webster's defines teammates as a fellow member of a team. In traditional sport, a win is shared amongst the team. Well, that's not the case in NASCAR, where at 200 miles per hour, the concept of teammates is disregarded, especially on race day.
Drivers as far back as 10 years ago with us can tell you, rule number 1 is don't take your teammate out, and then rule number 2 is don't forget rule number 1.
The team that's most important to the driver is the team, including the crew chief, the sponsor, all the pit crew, and the rest of us. They are a unit, but I would absolutely not expect any driver to do anything that would diminish his chances of winning in any way.
Teammate on the football team, you're all playing for the same team, so if you win, we all win. Teammates here, you win, I lost.
I think in certain situations, teammates work together sometime, but when it comes down to winning a race on that last lap or last 2 laps, just don't wreck each other and may the best guy win.
Joining me now is Juan Pablo Montoya. Juan, your victory last week in Mexico City was shrouded with a little bit of controversy due to the contact that you made with Scott Pruitt on the track. What attempt have you made to discuss the events with Scott?
No, we talked after the race. He was okay with it. I was okay with it. You know, it's a racing incident. You know, he left the door wide open. I went for the inside. When he saw me I was in, he tried, you know, to close the door. You know, we were fighting for a win, and he was going to defend his position. I was going to defend mine, and, you know, we're okay. You know, it's a shame what happened for the team, but, you know, I still managed to finish 5th and score good points for the team.
All right, you said last week after the victory that this was a great accomplishment for both you and Ganassi, but that it would now have to translate to the oval. What is it going to take for you guys to be successful on the oval?
I think our road cars was really fast. You know, both our Ganassi cars were really fast there. Here, you know, Cup car is really good. My Busch car here is just terrible, actually. It's going to be a tough day. You know, a good car got wrecked here in the test, so it was going to be a tough day.
All right, Juan Pablo Montoya starting 35th in today's Busch race.
All right, Shannon, thank you. That translates as terrible to Juan Pablo, who qualified 4th for tomorrow's Cup race. There's a big discrepancy between those 2 cars, how they're performing on the ovals. How will last week's incident at Mexico City shape how others on the track view Montoya in terms of oval racing?
Well, I don't think it's going to have a lot of reflections there. I think it's one of those deals to where, hey, that was last week. It's history, like Childress said. Hey, this is a big boys game. Grab your best hope, get on with it, and, hey, let bygones be bygones.
Yeah, the only time you have a teammate really is in restrictor plate racing. Otherwise, you're trying to get to the front of the pack. And anytime you can get to the rear fender of a guy, I think it's on. I mean, you don't necessarily want to wreck someone. But look, if you don't win, your sponsors aren't happy, your team really isn't happy. You have to do everything in your power to win a race. Second gets you nothing.
There's some speculation Montoya is the new intimidator, though, of NASCAR. But he's a second slower than Harvick qualifying in the Busch race. He's one of 26 guys double-dipping this weekend. With more on that issue, we go up to the booth to Jerry Punch, Rusty Wallace, and Andy Petrie.
Hey, thanks, Chris. You know, for years, guys, the debate has raged. Is it risk of a Cup Series driver running in a Busch race on Saturday and getting injured worth the rewards of what they actually learned in this race. Well, the discussions always get heated up when a marquee driver gets hurt, as was the case last May at Lowe's Motor Speedway. When reigning series champion for the Cup Series, Tony Stewart was injured driving his Busch car. And Stewart had injuries to the shoulder blade and ribs. 1 week later, they had to bring in a substitute out of retirement. Ricky Rudd comes in to drive the Home Depot Chevrolet because of injuries Stewart sustained in a Busch race at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Why are we talking about this? Because today, guys, there are 26 drivers who hope to do double duty, not only race today, but as well as racing on Sunday. And Rusty, it's been an intense debate over the years. Where do you stand on the issue?
But I think the risk is much greater than the reward. I really do. I mean, you're talking about 100 people plus on these Cup teams, and a guy goes out on a Saturday, runs a Busch car, and gets hurt. I'll tell you what, that is a really tough thing to swallow, because you went out there, you put all this time and money in your Cup team, and you lose your driver on a Saturday race. That's something I don't suggest doing, and that's one of the reasons when I drove, I didn't run the Busch Series because of that. Now, look, if I'm a Busch owner, I don't want my Busch driver driving the Cup. I don't want to sacrifice my main goal, and that's my team.
Now, Rusty, you opted also not to run much on Saturdays in Busch, whereas your friend Dale Earnhardt Sr. did run quite a bit. What was the risk that you internally thought about as far as getting in a Saturday or Sunday race?
My big problem, Jerry, was taking my own team down. I didn't want to hurt them. I didn't want to go out there and run and get hurt, really for no special reason. I'm getting paid the big money on Sunday to drive. Saturday, I'm doing it for just the fun of it and a little bit of money, stuff like that. And so the reward versus the risk was way lopsided.
Andy, as a crew chief and car owner, you've lived with these risks many times before. You know, what is your opinion on this debate?
Well, Jerry, as Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s crew chief back in the days we were running for the championship, I was against Dale running the Busch car. I didn't want him running the Busch car. I was selfish. And as a car owner, as I transitioned into ownership, it got to where I understood more about the challenges for the owners. These guys, a lot of the owners have cars. They got cars in Busch and Cup, and these guys need these stars in these Busch cars to make it work.
Well, standing by with a driver who understands the painful risk as well as the rewards of doing double duty, let's go down to Alan Bestwick.
With Tony Stewart, who's just been introduced, and he's getting ready for his ride around the track with some fans who also are getting to join in. Tony, how do you balance the rewards of racing, doing what you love to do, with the chance of getting banged up in a race on Saturday and perhaps hampering your championship effort on the Cup side?
Normally it's not a big deal, but this weekend, this place is absolutely treacherous, so this wasn't a good week to pick by any means.
Knowing what you know this weekend about the tire and track conditions and the edginess of the race, how does it affect how you race today?
Well, I mean, I'm a race car driver. I'm not going to just sit and ride around today by any means, but it's, you know, you still try not to put yourself in any, you know, precarious positions, but it's that competitive nature hits no matter whether it's a go-kart or an Indy car or a stock car or whatever. So when they drop the flag, you're still going to race hard, but, you know, it's just a shame. I mean, they had a really, really nice facility here, and, you know, Chris Powell and their staff really destroyed a really nice racetrack because they were afraid we were all getting strung out. And I guess they're smarter than we are and smarter than NASCAR is as a sanctioning body, and think that if they redo the racetrack that it's going to change things. But I don't know that Chris Powell has an engineering degree or anything like that in how to build racetracks. So I don't know. It's just frustrating. I mean, you come here and test, you know, and we were running really fast, and you come back and, you know, Goodyear brings a tire that they've changed on us. So, you know, it takes the 2 days that you spent out here plus the travel time and all the money that you spend to come out and test for these races. It takes all that and throws it out the window. And you know, if you look at how many cars crashed yesterday, not only in the Busch Series but the Cup Series too, it's an indication this track isn't very much fun right now to be on.
Tony, thanks for the thoughts. Tony Stewart. And by the way, Chris Powell, he's referencing to is the track general manager here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Chris?
Alan, Tony never pulls punches, does he? He qualified 17th at number 33 Chevy. Now, every week our crew travels around the NASCAR circuit with the tools that we need to take you inside this sport, and that includes our Chevy cutaway car. And that's where Tim is now to talk about the effects of the new smaller fuel cells on today's race. Tim?
After testing concluded here in Las Vegas in February, NASCAR had some tire issues. As a deterrent, what they've done, they came from a 22-gallon capacity fuel cell that would carry the car approximately 100 miles during the event to a 13-gallon fuel cell that's going to bring it back as far as range to about 60 miles. What that's going to try to do is preserve the tires as far as tire problems that may occur on long runs. 60 miles the car should be able to achieve relatively simple within the effort of keeping its drivers in complete safety here in Las Vegas.
All right, Tim, thank you. Lots more new. There's a controversy continues as we get ready for the green flag. We'll follow Greg Biffle as he ventures out into the Nevada desert for a very different kind of racing. Biffle always someone to watch on this track. And we'll discuss the changes made here, the banking, the pavement, the tires, the gas tanks, how it would affect today's race. We'll talk about it. You are watching ESPN on ABC.
We're in Dumont Dunes, about 2.5 hours south of Las Vegas. The Roush Yates engine shop right now is currently building me a 5-liter Ford engine for my new car, so I'm pretty excited about it. Suspension Unlimited is building the chassis, so it's going to be a fun car. I can't wait to get it done.
That looks like fun for Biffle. Meanwhile, it was not fun back here in December, tire testing at Las Vegas Motor Speedway into turn 1. Biffle slamming into the wall and knocked him unconscious. A serious wreck, so some concerns from him, and as well as most of these other drivers, Mike Massaro, as the green flag approaches.
Well, Chris, based upon what you just explained, who could blame Greg Biffle if he had a bad taste in his mouth about this racetrack? We just heard Tony Stewart very critical of the racetrack and the reconfiguration. How would you describe it?
Well, certainly it's been difficult. I almost crashed the very last lap of Cup practice. The racetrack very hard right now. Not really the racetrack, the tire and the racetrack combination. So, you know, the speeds are very high here, new pavement. It's really hard. It's going to be hard to race side by side for sure. But, you know, the racetrack just needs to get through this race and get a season on the pavement. Come back here, do a good tire test. You know, bring a little bit racier tire back, and hopefully the speeds will be down a little bit, and it'll be fun racing.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Chris?
All right, Mike, thank you. Biffle qualifying in 11th position for this Busch race. All right, so the controversy has erupted. Tony Stewart throwing punches, hit the GM of the track here. Well, wait, you guys have predicted a caution-filled race, Brad.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult day, and I think track position is going to be very important. I think this will be difficult to pass. The tires also, if they give up and there's a lot of tire failure, you could have some problems. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
Saving grace, it's 80 degrees out here. The tires are going to give up grip. It's hot. They're going to slip. They're going to slide. Hopefully they'll get some rubber down. Won't have a lot of tire issues.
All right, well, they've wanted a faster race. They've made tire changes to hopefully balance the speed with the safety. We'll see how it plays out. Jamie Little.
Well, guys, Jeff Burton is one guy that has raced here. He's won here twice, actually, but it's been 4 years since he competed in the Busch Series. And, Jeff, there's so many changes since you raced here last. Obviously, you're one of the guys that said you didn't want the change here. How do you face today's Busch race with so many unknowns?
Well, I think it's a huge challenge for all of us. The tires are, you know, don't make a lot of grip. By design, they don't make a lot of grip. And track's going to be slick. It's really warm today. So handling's going to be really important. It's a huge challenge, and to be honest, that's what makes racing fun, is that it is hard, and today is definitely going to be hard.
Jeff Burton starting 6th. He looks to have a little bit of fun out here today, Dave.
And, Jamie, it seems so unusual not to introduce Kevin Harvick as the championship leader, but for the first time in a year, that is the case. He's here to win. You were the fastest qualifier. Does that mean you've got the new Las Vegas figured out pretty well?
I don't know about that. I think it's challenging, to say the least, but AutoZone Chevrolet was okay in practice, and it was really good in qualifying, and you know, it's just hard to tell what the track conditions are going to be. So you guys make a big deal out of that points thing, but we're just we're here to win races and feel like we've done what we needed to do on the points thing over the years. So we'll just keep at it and try to keep winning.
Yeah, I'd say he did the points thing last year with authority, Chris.
We make a big deal out of it because there's been 37 Busch races when Harvick had the lead. Now it's Carl Edwards with the lead after 3 straight top 5s, but Harvick, of course, qualifying on the pole. How do you race this sucker, this brand new fast race course?
Hey, it's a big monster. You know, for my pick, I'm going to say the guy with a smooth steering wheel, that's going to be the guy in the 17. The guy with a fast race car, that's going to be Harv. Those guys are going to let the racetrack come to them and pick and choose their wars, and hopefully they're going to win a few.
Well, and I think if I'm crew chief in this race, I'm going to make sure that, you know, with my 9 sets of tires, I take care of them, I manage them. Track position is so incredibly important. And I think you have to be able to take advantage of the opportunities when you have cautions and get ready to get your tires in, get your pit stops in, and be ready to race.
There was a truck race on this new configuration with the steeper banks at the end of last year. What can we learn from how that truck race unfolded, if anything?
I don't think you can learn anything from that, because you come back, you change the tires on the car, you've got different aerodynamics, you got more horsepower. It's a completely different animal, and by the way, it's a lot hotter out here today too.
Yeah, Rudiman and Ambrose, Marcus Ambrose, the Aussie, the 2 guys who drove in this truck race and are also driving in the Busch race. So your selection?
I'm going to go with Kyle Busch. I'm going to go with the Durango High graduate, hometown kid. He hasn't had a great year thus far, but I think he's going to come to the front.
You've off a little bit. You've gone back and forth, and now have you settled on Kyle Busch to win this thing?
Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, maybe Matt Kenseth. Give me about 10 guys.
Oh,
I'll give you one.
You can't do that. You can't do that. Casey Kane is the odds maker's favorite, and you're sticking with
the 17, Matt Kenseth. He's smooth. He's great. But Harv, he is Mr. Busch right now, and you can't ever bet against that guy.
Well, the two real Mr. Busch are going to be very interesting, Brad. You talk about Kyle and Kurt Busch from this city. A little personal competition between them. Who's going to finish?
I'm telling you,
today?
Kyle Busch. I think he's the guy to beat.
All right, you can tell it's controversial, the changes that have been made. The grid is ready. The green flag is approaching. We are set for Busch Racing from Las Vegas, just minutes away.
I had no idea.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You can see the field of 43 lined up. There's the points leader, Carl Edwards, ready to go. We go to the track announcer, Curtis Tilgreen, for the invocation.
Chaplain, Mr. Kenny Farmer, offers today's invocation.
Father, we give you the praises for this day. We ask for blessings upon this new track. Father, we pray for those men and women that are overseas right now, putting their lives on the line to give us the freedom. We love this sport so very much. Father, we pray for all those men and women here that are racing today. May they do it at their very best with the gifts you have given them. We ask this in your name, Father. Amen.
Please welcome 903 music recording artist Daryl Worley as he performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the
F-16s from the 64th Aggressor Squadron from Nellis Air Force Base. When you come back, the roar of the engines, Busch Racing from Las Vegas is next.
This ESPN telecast of the NASCAR Busch Series on ABC is available in high definition on ABC HD, presented by Vizio. A beautiful Saturday afternoon at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 43 Busch cars ready to go all in as NASCAR's Technicolor Circus roars into Las Vegas. travel to Las Vegas, you expect stars, and we've got them in this Busch Series race. Kevin Harvick, who doubled up at Daytona, is going to try to do it again. He's our fastest qualifier. And because this is Vegas, you can back him at 5-1 at any station's casino. But you better hurry, ladies and gentlemen. It's time now to go racing.
And now, the most famous words in motorsports. The Grand Marshal for today's Samstown 300, Major General Billy McCoy.
On behalf of our loyal customers and the thousands of Boyd Gaming employees, we salute today the 60th anniversary of the United States Air Force. Gentlemen, start your engines!
We're about to find out if this track is too dangerous. Let's go upstairs. Jerry Punch, Rusty Wallace, and Andy Petrie. Take it away, Jerry.
Hey, thank you very much, Brent. Glad to have you with us today here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And guys, since the last time the Busch cars came here and raced, a lot has changed. New banking, new pavement, new tires, and they are 10 miles per hour faster than they have ever raced here before. Rusty, as a driver, you're strapping in right now, getting ready to race. What tops your list of concerns?
Jerry, my biggest concern right now is, am I going to crash? There's been 12 crashes in practice with veteran drivers, so they're really concerned about the track, the tire, the track surface, everything itself. You know, I'm going to go down into turn one. I'm going to hope my car sticks good. If I go low, I hit those bumps, and it might throw me back up the racetrack. It's going to take a while for me to figure out what I'm going to need out here to make my car handle good on the top side of the track and on the bottom side of the track.
All these veterans bouncing off the wall in practice sessions here, trying to find the right way to get into turn one. Andy, all these changes have to be a nightmare for a car owner and crew chief. What is your biggest concern here today?
Well, one of the biggest concerns up to now has been trying to get the car to drive comfortably for these guys. You can see these guys bouncing off the walls. The cars are very unpredictable to drive. But then today we've got to figure out how we can use this 9 sets of tires. We got more tires for these guys than they've ever had to work with. We're going to have small fuel cells. They're going to make a lot of pit stops. Pit crews are going to be really busy. And don't forget, we're in Las Vegas, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of gambling on pit road.
A lot of rolling of the dice on pit road, as well as in the race cars here for 300 miles. Well, 43 of the world's best stock car drivers are saddled up and ready to race. We'll wave the green flag when we return. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Busch Series on ABC. Brought to you by New York Life, the company you keep. Nextel, only from Sprint. And Can-Am. I Can-Am. Can you?
We welcome you back to Las Vegas Motor Speedway here in Las Vegas, Nevada. As you take a look at our starting grid, you'll see that reigning series champion Kevin Harvick has picked up his 22nd career pole, as he will lead him down alongside David Stremme, who has his best starting spot of the year in a Dodge. And while you take a look at our starting grid, let's check in and visit with our in-race reporter, David Gillen, who starts the car number 25 back in 26th position.
David Gillen, Rusty Wallace, ESPN. You got us?
Get loud and clear, Rusty.
Dave, you crashed in practice off of turn 4, and a lot of guys have been hitting the bumps down in turn 1 and crashing down there. You feel like you got this car handling well enough to you're comfortable on the track now?
Yeah, all the guys, Todd Brewer and all the guys, they did a great job getting it fixed. All we had was qualifying there, and it was a little conservative, but you know, the car felt great, so I'm really excited, looking forward to the race here today.
All right, Dave, thanks a lot for talking to us.
All right, we'll also be talking with his crew chief on pit road, Todd Brewer.
Hey, Todd Brewer, Andy Petrie up in the booth. Got a coffee? Hey, Todd, I know you guys have struggled a little bit, hit the wall. You got a lot of things going on down there in the pits, and you got a lot of options with all these sets of tires and these small gas tanks and lots of pit stops. What's your strategy?
of laps under our belt. You know, it's going to be a tough race. The car's going to move around quite a bit. With just tires and fuel cells, tricky one. The FreeCreditReport.com board's going good. Got a couple guys from UFC down here. Just in case it does get a little rough out there. David's done a good job. Everybody had to bounce back from a lot of diversity in practice, but we're happy. Good car. We're looking forward to it.
10-4. Have a good race.
All right, we'll be hearing from David and Todd throughout the afternoon. They will be carrying one of our 8 high-definition onboard cameras here today. You see there's Mike Wallace in the Geico Chevrolet, Kurt Busch in the Penske Truck Rental Dodge, Ryan Coleman in the Z-Line designed machine, David Gilliland you just saw a moment ago in the FreeCreditReport.com. There's Tony Stewart, the Old Spice Chevy, Carl Edwards, the Dish Network, Stephen Wallace, a 19-year-old in the Wise Trades Dodge, and David Rudeman in the Aaron's Dream Machine Toyota. Those are our 8 high-definition onboard cameras. I'll be showing you up close and personal about this new pavement here and turns at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Well, let's update the final stories on pit road first. Here's our Jamie Little.
Well, Doug, what a difference 3 weeks makes. Driver the number 22, David Stremme, showed up at Daytona and failed to qualify. Here in Las Vegas, he is starting second. He's also starting second for the Cup race tomorrow. So I asked him, what are his expectations here in Las Vegas? And he said, there's so many inconsistencies, so many unknowns. I'm looking forward to one fun race. Mike?
Well, Jamie, the defending winner of this race may be Casey Kane, but so far his weekend has not gone as planned. In the first practice, he blew a motor. In the second practice, he slapped the outside wall, pancaking the right side of that car. Afterwards, he said, going through turn 4 is like driving on ice. Dave?
Mike, the first time Kurt Busch raced in the Busch Series was last year. In the first race, he won. So you figure every time he comes out here, he might be really confident about his race car, but not so today. His Nextel Cup car is actually acting very different than his Busch Series car. And he told me just moments ago, the beginning of this race, we're going to have to just sort it out. Could be very interesting for Busch. Alan?
Dave, the last 2 times the NASCAR Busch Series has raced on this type of track, the high-speed 1.5-mile, 2-mile, they call intermediate tracks, Matt Kenseth has gone to victory lane. Today, he's driving the exact same car used in those wins with nearly the exact same chassis setup. Oh, and today, Matt starts 7th. And that's supposed to be a lucky number here in Vegas, right? Doc?
All right, thank you very much. And guys, typically drivers do not like change. You heard in the pre-race show Tony Stewart talk about he's not very happy with what they've done here, drastically changing this racetrack to raise the bankings and repave it. Your thoughts?
I don't think these guys mind change so much as long as it's for the better. And Tony Stewart didn't see it as being a change for the better. He sees it as being dangerous, and then that forces Goodyear to make a different tire, which makes the cars very unpredictable. So these guys don't mind change as long as it's something in the right direction.
You know, I tell you what, Tony really gets aggressive with his statements. He doesn't like the track right now, but I will tell you, if he comes back next year, I think he's really going to like the track much better. Once the track seasons in a little bit, the track, you know, doesn't get so grippy. It's not so black. Goodyear's going to bring a softer tire back, and these cars are going to stick much better. And I got a feeling then Tony Stewart's going to like this place a lot more.
Well, Chris Powell told me yesterday they were trying to change the racetrack to make the racing better, to give us better grooves, and they had the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series trucks here back in September, and they had 2 grooves. They had a high groove so you could run side by side, which typically in the past was very difficult to do here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Again, the banking is 20 degrees, up from 12 a year ago. The backstretch is 9 degrees, up from 3 degrees a year ago. They have narrowed this track from 85 to 55 feet, making it much narrower in the corner. And now, here in the show capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, a record crowd of over 105,000 fans are on their feet as 43 of the world's finest NASCAR Busch Series drivers are set to perform for 300 miles on a national stage. They sail by at 185 plus miles an hour. Here is the critical exit of turn 4, lap 1. Now the bump everyone's talking about is entering turn 1. Will everyone get across the ripple as Harvick leads them down?
That's my main concern right now, Jerry, is getting into turn 1. It's very rough on the bottom side of the track. If these guys get in side by side, meaning the inside car compacted up against the outside car, they're going to lose their downforce and spin out. We saw that a lot off of turn 4. Charlotte Motor Speedway with the same tire can make the car very loose.
I see that outside groove already coming in on the first lap. You see these cars, see Tony Stewart on the outside making a little ground. He's actually faster than the guy on the bottom.
We watched practice this morning in the NASCAR Cup Series. Those guys had 2 grooves going right away. They can race all over this place, Andy. You see Kyle Busch on the apron right now, back up on top of the racetrack. Turn 1 they're entering right now. This is where they're complaining about the track being so rough.
Harvick going by, David Strimmy in second spot, 2 cars, and we've seen more side-by-side racing already than we've seen in years past here at Las Vegas. Look at Tony Stewart on the inside in the 33 car.
First on the outside, then on the inside. He powers up under Regan Smith. And there, we saw Kyle Busch go below the white line. We don't have that rule here at Las Vegas like we do at Daytona, where these guys can't improve their position. They can go below that line anywhere on the racetrack.
And Andy, they said earlier this racetrack is one banking angle. It's 20 degrees. I've talked to several drivers who went down and actually measured the corners, and this track does have some compound banking into it. I mean, it's a little flatter on the bottom than it does up top. I don't know if that was by design or what happened. Hey, we just got to change for second place. Kyle Busch, or Kurt Busch, just moved into second place in the Penske Truck Leasing car. This is his hometown. He wants to win this thing.
Well, when you saw David Strimmy have a little bit of a bobble, a wiggle there as the 12 car of Kurt Busch makes the pass for second spot. Kurt's first start in the NASCAR Busch Series this year. In trouble out of turn 4, the 85 car slams the outside wall heavily with the driver's side. It comes to rest across in the grass, and just that quickly at lap number 4, we have caution on the racetrack. Brett Lowe.
He was lucky enough to catch part of that safer barrier on the front straightaway. As they come off turn 4, there's no barrier, no safer barrier, and then as you get in the tri-oval, there is, and he was lucky enough to catch that safer barrier.
And I tell you guys, that was a hard left-hand impact. I saw him moving around the car a little bit, the window nuts down. That is a great sign because he hit driver's side first awful hard.
Brett Rowe there with the safety crews getting to him. A hard impact coming out of turn 4.
He just loses it off of turn 4, loses that grip. He was all by himself. And that's what they're concerned about. These tires are so hard. The track was so new. We predicted earlier where we're going to see a lot of caution flags. You know, I hope it stops. But that is the biggest problem. The car's just running and just losing grip.
Yeah, and I just saw that replay where he actually did not hit the safer barrier. He hit the hard concrete wall just before the safer barrier. So that was a hard lick.
You know, there's a lot of guys, when they were building these racetracks, I really think as fast as they're running, they should bring that softer wall around the corner a little bit farther, because when they spin off of turn 4, a lot of times, like I'm seeing at this racetrack, they actually get in the wall farther past it. So, you know, sometimes you got to run a race at a brand new racetrack to figure out what you need to do. And I really think they need to bring that softer wall a little farther. That's good news seeing them get out of that car. That was a scary crash.
Yeah, it shows you how safe these cars are with the Hans devices and the safer barriers, safer barriers. Brett Rowe walks away. We are under yellow for the first time this afternoon in the early laps here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Stay with us.
You can bet on just about anything here in Las Vegas, including today's Busch race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And Casey Kane, defending champion here, 4-1 favorite. But you can see the odds bunch between Harvick Burton, Kurt Busch, hometown favorite, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, and Carl Edwards, the point leader. Those are the guys that are inside of 10-1. Back with Tim Brewer and Brad Doherty. You guys predicted there might be some cautions early in tire runs, and there's Brent Rowe putting his Chevy into the wall outside of turn 4. Where we heard Casey Kane say in the pre-show it's like driving on ice coming out of that turn.
Pretty much.
Well, it's very slick out there, but the interesting thing now with your 9 sets of tires, we talked about tire management, Tim. What does this do as far as the crew chief's concerned? What does this do to your management of your tires going forward?
Hey, we're getting a deal right now. Caution flags are your friend. Anytime you get a chance to go out and qualify on sticker tires, that's great. But in this application, it gives them a chance to cool back down. So that's one more heat cycle on the tires. Therefore, your pit window might be extended somewhat. With this caution flag out here, you might make it to that 35, 36 lap deal. But right now, the driver's sitting there feeding that crew chief some information about, hey, man, it's not as bad as what we thought it was, and we can adjust this chassis a little bit and make this thing come to us a little bit better.
See a few drivers just that you got to be cautious, and then Tony Stewart's driving all over the place. And I've learned never listen to what these guys say pre-race.
Ever. I mean, that second groove came in real quick.
Yeah, real quick for Tony.
Jerry, back to you guys.
All right, there are the remains of the 85 car. Brett Rowe making his first ever NASCAR Busch Series start. He's an ARCA driver from West Virginia, out of the Midwestern ARCA ranks, where many NASCAR Busch Series drivers have come to run full-time in the NASCAR Busch Series. We are under yellow here for the first time of the afternoon, the first of what could be many if predictions are indeed accurate. 8 laps are complete. Back with a restart at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in just a moment.
Tonight, if you've ever been a lady to begin with.
Woo! Featherlight, baby.
All right, back at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Let's look at the top 5. After 10 laps, we've only had 4 green flag laps. The other 6 have been run under yellow. And the spin and violent impact of Brett Rowe up in turn 4. The 85 car, he's walked away okay, thanks to NASCAR's safety restraints there. And a moment ago, we were able to listen in a little bit with the driver of the 90 car, Stephen Light, talking to his team about the racetrack conditions.
One of those days where you'd be a lot faster if you're just a little snug and loose, because these tires are so hard. When you're loose, there's just no warning, you know. Yeah, 10-4. Thought that's about where we were, you know, based off yesterday. But track's a lot harder now.
And Andy Petrie, we talked at the beginning of the show, this has got to be a nightmare for a crew chief to try to constantly communicate and adjust for what's happening on the racetrack when they've never run here before at speed with these many cars at one time.
Yeah, these crew chiefs are paying real close attention to these comments. I talked to Casey Kane yesterday, and he was just talking about the unpredictability of all the race cars.
All right, pace car is pulled away as the crew chiefs are ready to give their drivers the green flag notification from the flag stand. Challenge for third spot very quickly entering turn 1 as the 29 car of Jeff Burton goes to the high side of David Stremme.
Yeah, Jeff Burton got a really good restart on the outside. He did anything illegal. He did it passed on the outside, went down into turn 1, where there appears to be 2 grooves already. Going into turn 3, Jeff still got a good run on the top side of David Stremme, and a lot of confidence up there in that second groove.
Yeah, Chris Powell's got to be pretty happy with this right here. We heard Tony Stewart be very critical of the racetrack, but right off the bat, these guys running 2 wides.
As you watch this pack, you see the 17 car. That is the effort of Matt Kenseth. And he now is showing some strength. Kenseth back in the 5th position. There's the 17 behind the 22. Kenseth who swept both events at California in the NASCAR Busch Series and Nextel Cup. Kenseth goes underneath Stremme.
And that's where they got to be careful, Jerry. Oh, I just started to say, you got to really be worried about that.
Behind you, got 3 in the wall.
And
come on, get on the gas.
The cars are flying down pit road right now. The 41 car, the 66 of Stephen Wallace.
Pretty bad, Drew.
Denny Hamlin, they got slowed down. Guys, I just got ready to say you got to be careful off of 4 with the arrow loose, Andy. If you get too close to your car, you can lose that downforce and slide up. And a veteran did that, Matt Kenseth.
Well, I saw that coming. David Stremme didn't give Matt Kenseth any extra room going in that corner. He had him hugged down on the bottom so tight that he didn't have any room to work. When his car got a little bit loose underneath him, he didn't have any room to catch it.
Well, one thing we need to remember, this tire is the same tire they're in at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and they freshly repaved that racetrack. The characteristics seem to be the very same. Off of turn 4, if they get locked down real tight, where they don't have enough room to maneuver and get away from that car, they spin. Now, they've been doing that here in turn 4. They've been doing it down in turn 1. If I was a crew chief, I'd be saying, be careful right there.
What I'm going to tell my crew chief right now is give and take, guys.
All right, let's show you again. We were watching the 17 car. He just breaks free, and right behind him is the 2 of Clint Boyer.
You see a lot of guys hitting down pit road right now. It's the right way to do it. They avoid that. They slow down. They've slowed down right now. There's no penalty. They can go back up in the racetrack.
Here's a 24 Casey Mears spinning. The other cars coming into your picture as you see the 17 spin down in the grass. The 15 of Paul Menard, the yellow car middle of your screen. He's involved. The 16, watch again at turn 4. Watch the 17 car slide, and right behind him the 2 car goes with him.
Yeah, they're just trying to, Clint Boyer was just trying to avoid the wreck, and he ended up getting caught up in it.
On board the Wise Trade roof camera for Steve Wallace. And you can see that Stephen Wallace was trying to be very careful back behind this bunch, as the repairs are what's left. And that was a brand new car for Casey Mears at California, and he had a phenomenal finish. Finished second, had a shot at winning that race. The National Guard car that is certainly paying tribute to the 41st Infantry Brigade out of Oregon. They do that every week, paying tribute to some part of the National Guard, and they thought they were going to have a car to contend with today.
Yeah, I just talked to Chad Walters in the garage this morning, and this is the very thing he was worried about. He told me, he says, look, we got a great car. We had the same car we ran in California. But he says, man, I'm really worried about what's going to happen out there today, and we can see why.
On here again, Steve Wallace. Now watch ahead of Steve.
In front of you. Go low, go low, go low. There you go. Ease it up, ease it up, ease it up.
Spotter's doing a really good job with Steven, slowing him down. Steve did a great job getting off the racetrack down pit road in that Wise Trade car. That was just an incredible move, because I'll tell you, the NASCAR will tell you in the drivers' meetings, guys, if you got to go to pit road, do it, but slow down. A lot of these guys, including Steven, have been in that position before and sped down pit road and got penalties for doing that.
On here is the first pit stops of the day. Many of these guys, Andy, taking fuel only. A couple are taking tires.
Well, they're going to have to take advantage of this caution to get some fuel in that car to extend the range out so they can make the full run. A lot of guys, I mean, I don't see very many tire changes among the top guys, and most of them just getting two that are changing tire.
Danny Hamlin changing tires. So did Paul Menard, Carl Edwards. And here is the 6th car of David Reagan on pit road, as we check in the pits where Dave is caught up with Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, Matt rolled his car back in here, Jerry, done for the day with the automobile. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just, you know, the cars were real loose. It was pretty treacherous on this tire, and I thought I was okay. I thought I lifted early to get in underneath Remy there, and he was so close to my door, just took the air off my car, and I couldn't control it all, and I thought I had it straightened out and just was going to get back to the gas, and he went by me so fast it just sucked my car around. So there's just not much traction on these tires when you take the air off the car. Besides the tire, they're hard to hang on to. So it's just my mistake. I should have known better and put myself in that position, and we're done for the day.
Very tough end of the day for Matt, a former winner here in the Cup Series. And guys, we talked about the unpredictability of this place. Tough to drive these race cars today.
You know, in the NASCAR Busch Series meeting this morning, the officials were going to remind the drivers be careful about the loss of side bite in the corner when you're running side by side because of the new tire and the new pavement and the unpredictability. What are they really talking about, which was what we just saw a moment ago?
They need just a little bit of room to work. If they can get the cars to spread out just a little bit, just another foot or two between these cars, makes them more stable. That's what Matt was saying. I noticed when they went in that corner, they were really close together, and I saw some problems developing there. And Matt said he was just so close that he thought he was okay, but then all of a sudden he wasn't. The air just hits the sides of these cars funny and there's all kinds of aero loose. We hear that all the time. This was the side-by-side version of aero loose.
Cars getting inside of another, one up high, and suddenly you don't have a lot of grip. And you saw what happened to Matt Kenseth. Tony Stewart started in the back of the pack, dodged this wreck, and is on his way to the front. We'll find out if he can get there when we come back in a moment.
It's the eye of a tiger.
ESPN on ABC. NASCAR Busch Series racing here at Las Vegas. We are under caution for the second time. This one coming out on lap 13 for troubles again in turn 4.
As the 17 car Matt Kenseth gets close to the 20 car David Stremme, he has to pull back down. He loses his aerodynamic downforce. The 2 car of Clint Bowyer's right on his tail causes the car to spin out.
It's almost like a perfect storm where you have 2 cars running side by side, and then you have another car stuffed right up under your back bumper.
All right, this is a classic example of aero loose. So our resident crew chief, Andy Petrie, take us through this and show us what you're talking about.
Well, as we see this red car, our ESPN car, he's just going along fine, and he's got another car coming up. The green car comes up behind him. As they get close, they start packing that air right behind that other car, the red car. Creates a little bit of lift in the back, makes the rear tires not grip. We see the back end slide out from under him. Then the green car just motors on by.
Andy, that's a classic case of aero loose. The loosest we're seeing around here, though, another version of that, is when the inside car goes alongside the outside car. He gets so close that the air can't pass down between the cars. The inside car gets loose also and spins out. Now, look, that's what we're going to see a lot of going into turn 1, turn 3, and off of turn 4 here.
These cars very sensitive to the changes here for this first time on the new racetrack as we check in down in the pits with Dave Burns.
And Clint Boyer, who was caught up in this mess. Clint, talk to us about how difficult this track is to race today.
I mean, I'm afraid that's just going to be a product of this track and this tire. But, you know, you're just going fast out there, and, you know, I'm surprised. I wish I had an in-car camera. I'm surprised he held on to it that long. You know, it's just, you got to be able to pass. You got to be able to get under the people and pass them. And as we saw right there, as I had a bird's eye view of it, I mean, he's, like I say, I'm surprised he held on to it that long. But the BB&T Chevrolet, I just hate it for these guys. Car was really good, and we were just kind of riding, being patient, and unfortunately, some others weren't.
Clint running a partial schedule this year. Too bad he's out early, Chris.
All right, thanks. 2 early cautions. Boyer, along with Mears and Kenseth, taken out in that incident. Earlier, it was Brett Rowe. Now let's talk strategy, Mr. Brewer. You guys both said it's about track position, track position, track position. That versus pitting right now.
Well, Andy, he might have a different opinion, but you know the leaders, they came in and they just dumped fuel in the car, which I thought that was a pretty good deal. But the 20 car, he elected to put some tires on the car, and you know maybe he had a chassis problem, wanted to tighten the thing up or free it up, whatever he wanted to do with it. But right now it's kind of early for me to be getting on new tires.
Yeah, and a lot of guys, like I say, did not take tires. They just took fuel because they're trying to advance their positions, and it's scary because these guys are competitive. They want to go racing. And when they get on this racetrack and it's a little slick and it's a little sketchy, they just don't have any idea which way to go. So right now there's a lot of uncertainty, and you're going to see a lot more of those cautions.
It's only lap 19 out of 200. We'll have to see if these drivers can learn from what's happened both times out of turn 4, or if we're going to see a lot more of this.
It's going to be a long day, guys.
A lot more of this is the verdict down here. Jerry?
More. All right, thank you, Chris. And they have warned, by the way, the veterans about their 2 rookie drivers running second and third. That is Juan Pablo Montoya and Justin Dirks. The top 3 cars did not pit, so J.J. Yaley will lead Montoya and Dirks down into turn 1 here on lap 20. Kevin Harvick sneaks beneath the third-place car and just comes sailing up out of turn 2 with the 12 car of Kurt Busch and Strimmy and the 29 of Burton in tow.
These guys don't seem to be scared of the racetrack whatsoever. You saw Kyle Busch go right around the outside of Stephen Wallace and just, you know, not even slow down at all. Just kind of blew his doors off, so to speak, coming off of turn 2. A lot ahead of steam, and then they ran 3 wide. Kurt Busch, Las Vegas veteran, very good at this racetrack, and his car's been good in practice, guys.
We just see Kurt Busch's car wiggle a little bit getting into turn 1. We see some of that aero loose going on right there. Jeff Burton was right up behind him, and you can see it back in the Kurt Busch car just dancing around and moved him up in that upper groove.
Now, Andy, let's take a look at the 29 car Jeff Burton. You see Kurt Busch is staying away from him. They got that column of air coming down the side of the car. But if they went in the corner side by side, I'll tell you what, that'll turn some cars loose.
It takes give and take out here. These guys got to give a little bit, make sure they give each other enough room to race, because if the guy under them gets loose, they're going to get crashed themselves. So they have to play defense.
All right, Kevin Harvick, the second car on your screen now, is pulled up to the rear deck of J.J. Yaley. Again, Yaley did not pit. Harvick in the 21, and the next 5 to 7 cars all have been on pit road, and he is getting ready to inhale Yaley coming out of the turn as you ride along with the Penske on board for Kurt Busch.
We're going to see this all day long. We're going to see different pit strategies, guys staying out on the racetrack, guys getting gas, guys getting 2. So it's going to jumble this field all day long. We're going to see this all day.
These cars are running extremely high air pressures in these tires. Pressure so high, almost like qualifying pressures, what teams normally do. This is a new design tire, which requires much more air pressure to stay competitive. You're talking 62 pounds as a minimum right front air pressure, guys. That is awful, awful high.
Incredible air pressure in the right front to keep these cars up. And again, Goodyear is using a tire from Lowe's Motor Speedway from Charlotte on the right side. They have built a special tire for the left just to handle the pavement and all the loads these teams are feeling with the cars.
Yeah, these loads are extremely high on this high-speed racetrack, and NASCAR has mandated, Goodyear's actually suggested.
Oh, here's trouble for last week's winner, Juan Pablo Montoya. Mike
Well, Jerry,
Massaro?
we heard Juan Pablo Montoya say at the top of the show he now wants to win on an oval. Well, looks like the chances of that happening today are very slim. A tire problem for Juan Pablo Montoya. He's been battling an ill-handling race car most of the afternoon. He pitted early about 10 laps ago because the car was really loose. They added 3 pounds of pressure to the left side, took a rubber out of the right rear. This time, though, they're really tight. They think they might have a fender pushed in right now, and they're trying to solve that problem. 4 tire change for Juan Pablo Montoya. The car just not where he wants to be right now.
Montoya, who became the first Hispanic driver to win a NASCAR Busch Series on pit road while they are mixing it up on the racetrack. Harvick is the leader. The 29 is Burton. The 12 of Kurt Busch.
Heating up front. I like this racy racetrack. You've got two grooves, two distinct grooves we can see right here, with Kevin Harvick working the top groove, Jeff Burton working the bottom.
And Rusty, Jeff Burton in the 29 car has won this twice at this racetrack in a Busch car, twice in a Cup car. What is it about some drivers and certain racetracks?
These are veterans, Jerry. They have a lot of confidence in your car, but look at the 29s wiggling the back of that car all through the corner. He's extremely loose. He's running that second lane in turn 3 and 4. He's getting a lot ahead of steam. I was watching one at turn 1 now, all the way up to the top of the racetrack, working the back bumper of Kevin Harvick, trying to get that big run off the corner. But as doing that, he's getting his car very loose in that situation.
Jeff Burton's had a lot of success in Las Vegas, but this is a brand new racetrack. He's never won a race on this racetrack. It's totally brand new. He takes the lead from Kevin Harvick off turn 4. His car looks really good here. It's handling great.
This is the car, the 29 car, by the way, that led so many laps at California in the second race of the year, only to fade late. Jeff Burton says, we had the best car to beat. We're going to show people at Las Vegas. Look at the 10 car here. That is Dave Blaney in the Toyota beginning to make a move as we check in with Dave.
Hey, guys, on that 29 car of Jeff Burton, talked to his crew chief, Pat Smith, this morning about the end of that race, Jerry, and I said, did you guys talk a little bit about that? You saved a set of tires that maybe wasn't the best for the end of that race. He said, yep, we're done with that. Jeff is okay with the decision we made based on how that race went. But today we've got, we hope, the best set saved for the end, and we hope we put it on at the right time, because really the only time they were bad in that California race was right at the very end.
Andy Petrie saving tires. They've been doing it for a long time, and some of the best crew chiefs that are really good at it can win a race for you.
Well, the reason they know that's their best set of tires is because they scuff. They got to run these tires in practice. They have 9 sets of tires. I talked to these crew chiefs. Almost all these teams ran every single one of these of their sets of tires. We got a battle for second.
Indeed it is. We told you the Toyota was on the move. This is Dave Blaney in the 10 car trying to move inside of the Dodge of Kurt Busch. And Blaney moving up. And look at the 5 car right behind him. That is Las Vegas native Kyle Busch. And guys, he started back in 20th position.
Well, he's been working the top side of the racetrack, Jerry, and really making a lot of ground up there. Turn 1 and 2 and turn 3 and 4. You see him run up on him right now. And back in the pack, I'll tell you what, they are 3 wide back here. So the cars are sliding around all over the racetrack. They're lacking grip. And you see them dance around. Even the cars running fast are dancing around like the 10 car was earlier.
And we check into the Kyle Busch pits with Jamie Lou.
Well, Doc, we talked to Kyle Busch before the race. You know, this is his hometown. We keep talking about it. He graduated from high school here, graduated early with honors, mind you. Very intelligent man, but he wants to win in front of his home crowd. The car, he said, is working great. He's very quiet on the radio right now. And as you can see, he started 20th, and right now he's currently running 4th. So far, a good run. Everything's solid for Kyle Busch.
Now, how in the world can everyone else be slipping and sliding and having trouble gripping the racetrack, and Kyle Busch just comes sailing to the front so quickly?
That's the way he likes his car. If you'll watch, when he runs good, the back end of his car is slipping and sliding all over the place. He likes his car loose.
You watch him, these style racetracks, these mile-and-a-half tracks, he's always really competitive on these fast tracks where conditions are the way of their day. There's been a lot of tracks he's run that have been repaved that he's been exceptionally good on, and the day he's doing it again. Now, we've seen this field spread out just a little bit. Seems like these guys have calmed down a little bit. They kind of got their game going on, and they're feeling a bit more comfortable with the track. Also, the fuel's burning off, Andy, and when the fuel burns off, that makes the car not as loose.
Yeah, it definitely changes the handling characteristics as the fuel burns down. But Brad Daugherty called it with Kyle Busch. He said he was his favorite to win, and he's looking awful strong right now.
Let's remind the fans again that we are at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. As you watch the 33 car of Tony Stewart on the move, and they have smaller fuel cells here today. They only have 13 gallons versus the 22 gallons they normally run. They also have a new banking, 20 degrees, new pavement, a new tire. They're 10 miles per hour faster, and they've got their hands full, as Tony Stewart told you during the pre-race. But hey, he's on the march.
He is on the march. I'll tell you, his car looks good, and he's been critical of this racetrack all week long, and actually in the testing sessions earlier in the year. And he's got his car working pretty good, and I got a feeling if he's able to win this race, he might tone that down just a little bit.
They're putting a lot of the Goodyear rubber down on the track right now. You see down in turn 3 and 4, and off the turn right now that the track is getting really black. It's gray on the top side of the track, black on the bottom. Folks at home, that means there's a lot of rubber. That makes the car handle better, makes the cars much more predictable, and that's what's going on in the racetrack right now. Also, they're able to run the second lane with ease now.
Lap 35 of 200. It has already been an eventful afternoon as this new racetrack has reached out and bitten a couple of drivers. Lap 4, the 85 car slammed the wall up out of turn 4. And of course, on lap 13, it all broke loose as well.
The action, just lay it on the line. I'll bet you 10-1 you be mine. Now once I had a filly.
Staying green in Vegas. Meanwhile, a program reminder, NBA action continues tomorrow on ESPN and ABC. First at 3 Eastern on ABC. Carmelo Anthony, Allen Iverson and the Nuggets take on Mike Bibby and the Sacramento Kings. 9 Eastern on ESPN. Dallas Mavericks, led by Dirk Nowitzki, try to extend its winning streak as they take on Kobe and the Lakers. NBA Sunday on ESPN and ABC. Available on high definition. And right now, let's go back upstairs, and here's Jerry Punch. Jerry.
All right, thank you very much, Brent. We have a new leader here. It is Kyle Busch, the Las Vegas native, all the way from 20 starting spot. He has sailed toward the front. Now, we'll show you just what happened a moment ago as he was able to reel in the 29 of Jeff Burton.
He's got so much momentum going into turn 3 right on the bottom of the racetrack. Every now and then throughout the race, a car has one of the best. Different people get better handles on their car. Some have loose cars, some have tight cars, some have perfect cars. And right now, the 5 car is the best car in the field. He just went by about 0.3 of a second faster than anybody on the racetrack.
Excuse me, Jerry, we saw Jeff Burton's car really wiggle there in 3 and 4, and I think he'd been fighting it just a little bit and allowed Kyle Busch to catch him, and then when he wiggled, he just took the advantage.
You see Kyle Busch now has pulled away to about a 7 or 8 car length advantage over Jeff Burton. Now, while you watch this battle here toward the front, let's check in with our pit studio where Brad Daugherty, I believe, might have a question from one of our experts.
Yeah, Rusty Wallace, I have a question about the fuel burn off. Why is it that the car seems to get more grip or is able to get more grip when the fuel starts to burn off as opposed to having a full load of fuel and having more grip? Why is that?
Well, Brad, generally the cars don't handle better, but if they're a loose condition, like you see the back of these cars sliding around a lot, the back of the fuel cell where the fuel's located, there's 13 gallons of gas back there, and that's like rear pendulum weight. It's like taking a big old hunk of lead or something very heavy and tying the back of your car. When it goes in the corner, the back of the car tries to sling around, and as that fuel burns off, that gets less and less and less, and lets the guys have a lot more confidence on entry with a lighter back end. It's all about pendulum weight. It's all about the back of the car trying to slide around. And under these conditions, where everybody's fighting loose conditions, the car's sliding around, that really helps. As the fuel burns off, the tires gain a little bit of pressure and get a little more grip starts coming in.
Well, while you're watching these cars up front, we will mention that the 14 car of young Kyle Krisiloff was given a black flag. That's a consultation flag by NASCAR for speeding as he was exiting pit road a moment ago. He had to pass through. Now, Kyle Busch is the leader. Let's check in his pits with Jamie Little.
Well, just a few moments ago, Doc, there was a big scare in the 5 pits. Kyle radioed back to Alan Gustafson, his crew chief, and said the pitch just changed at the end of the backstretch. He thought he was going to blow up. So Alan told him switch electrical boxes. So far, Kyle came on and said it all sounds good now. So that could have been a problem. So I want Rusty maybe to elaborate on switching boxes and what exactly that does. But right now, he is the leader. Rusty.
Well, right now, I think what's going on, if he had a little bit of miss in the engine, he tried switching ignition boxes to clear it up. But generally, if you have a total failure, then you switch ignition boxes. I've really never seen an ignition box start missing. It happened a couple times in my career, but that's something that very seldom happens.
And here's a car slowing down, the 99 of David Rudiman. Speaking of problems, and Alan, we are being told he does not have any power at all.
Well, weren't we just talking about ignition boxes? The last lap by, David Rudiman switched ignition boxes. He heard a pop into the engine, did not fix the problem. He's slowing on the racetrack, and they have some troubles under the hood.
9 times out of 10, when that engine misses, it's hardly ever the ignition. That's the first thing drivers want to change is the ignition. That's the first thing you can change. But most of the time when that engine changes pitch and it changes tone, it means you got some problems in there. And if I'm Kyle Busch and his crew, I'm a little bit worried about that pitch sound that they said it changed.
That's one thing as a driver you can touch. You can go to, you can grab that switch in and you can switch and you go, oh my gosh, I hope this fixes the problem. But it never does. If you have an ignition problem, it's going to stop running completely. And when you hit that second box, it's going to fire back up and go. Never does it fix a miss.
All right, caution being waved now to the field. You see David Rudiman now coasting down toward pit road. Rudiman, by the way, in the top 10 in the NASCAR Busch Series points after 3 events. And this problem could cost him severely early on in the standings. As we will have the 3rd caution flag of the day here in lap 50. As we ride along with David Rudiman, and the car apparently was running fine and then just sort of missed, sputtered, and shut off. Let's listen in.
That doesn't sound like ignition to me.
No, it really did. It sounds like an internal problem, doesn't it?
Yeah, that didn't sound good. I don't believe they're going to be able to fix this. Nice quiet ride back to the garage area for David Rudiman.
He went down into turn 3. He was wide open on the throttle. He got out of the throttle for the normal turn, back into it, and then it quit. It sounded like, gosh, I've seen rotor buttons and distributors back when they used to have those break, but this did sound internal.
Well, this caution flag of the day will make the 25 car. That car there for David Gilliland, the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. He was the first driver 1 lap down and now gets to go back on the lead lap. And by the way, the free pass is you get to pass the pace car and go back around the racetrack and get back on the lead lap. He is the Lucky Dogs Aaron's free pass award winner. Well, under caution now here on lap number 50. The leaders will peel off and head down pit road. Let's head down to Alan Bestwood.
Nice track position play by J.J. Yaley's team. Stayed out under the last caution, moved himself from 36th starting spot up to the lead, only faded to 10th here. They catch the nice break on the yellow, getting back in pit sequence with everybody else. 4-tire change and an adjustment. Dave?
Jeff Burton is in. He said we have lost our turn, the ability for his car to make the turn as well as they were at the start of the race. Air pressure out of the right front to help that. Jamie.
Kyle Busch, the leader, coming in. 4 tires stop in full fuel. No adjustments on the 5 car. Mike.
Kevin Harvick coming in 6th. He said the front tires are chattering a little bit tight. Needs a little bit rear grip off, but tight in the center. 4 tires for Kevin Harvick.
And there's a race off pit road. What a great effort by the Penske crew for Kurt Busch in the 12 car. He gains 4 spots. Kyle Busch, as you heard, he had 4 tires and fuel, lost a spot. And there's the times in the race off pit road. We are under caution here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the 3rd time a day as the cars race off pit road. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
Las Vegas Motor Speedway is a pretty cool track. It's been reconfigured. They changed it. They narrowed the racetrack up. They put progressive banking in the corners. You should be able to run the bottom of the racetrack, the middle, or the top of the racetrack. It's designed to have better side-by-side competitive racing.
Vegas, obviously, now with the new service and new configuration, is very, very fast.
It's way faster than it's been in the past.
This racetrack's so fast. It's unbelievable how fast Vegas is now. I'm expecting to see early in runs a lot of cars out of control. It's just going to be pretty wild.
And we welcome you back to the Sam's Town 300 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And this is the 99 car of David Rudiman. You just heard from a moment ago as he is in the garage here. Here's the 7 car, the Geico Chevrolet of Mike Wallace, being shown in 29th position. He is the last car on a lead lap. And here is the 29 car of Jeff Burton back in 4th spot. After that major air pressure change to get the car to turn in the corners, he is being shown back in 4th as they sail toward the green flag here and the restart on lap 54.
Be ready. Be ready. Green flag, green flag.
Sailing down the back straightaway, the 12 of Kurt Busch driving for Roger Penske. It is the Busch brothers show up front. Kurt Busch in the 12 and Kyle Busch in the 5.
Well, this is the point of the race. Early in these runs where these guys got to be really careful. These tires, the pressure isn't up yet. They're cold. And I look out and I can see a lot of these cars dancing around. And look, I'm seeing the whites in their gloves just sashaying back and forth as we're watching them come down the straightaway. They're steering these cars so hard you can actually see it through the windshields.
The Busch boys are out here in clean air, but back here in the pack where these guys are racing some lap cars, it's really pretty dicey.
How about the fact that as you watch these cars back in the pack, Denny Hamlin, who finished second at Mexico City last week, second in the points. There's the wiggle you're talking about, Rusty, in the 41 car.
Oh, yeah. See, they're getting real loose right now. You see the 15 car up underneath Stephen Wallace makes him loose. He goes to the bottom. But this aero loose is really something big time out there right now. They can get very loose early in these runs.
Somebody forgot to tell Stephen Wallace he was wiggling, and he just keeps going. He didn't back off at all.
His car's been flying out there today. It's really handling well. He just got to hold on to it. As you see it moving around right now, these guys have got to be careful early in the run.
Well, Steve Wallace now being shown in 13th position. He was the fastest qualifier among the non-Cup Series drivers that were here. He's the first Busch Series regular in qualifying as we check in his pits.
Well, Jerry, a good race car perhaps is the best medicine for Stephen Wallace right now. I've been told he's battling a touch of the flu, and his uncle Kenny Wallace is on standby. But perhaps it's that incentive from his car owner that's keeping him out there right now. If he finishes inside the top 15, his car owner, his dad, the guy sitting next to you, is going to pay for 900 square feet of carpet in his new place.
Guys, Reed Sorensen in the Juicy Fruit car. We heard so much about that Juicy Fruit car last week when Scott Pruitt was in it. He came in right front flat, guys. They made almost runs over his crew member, but he is out and away.
Oh, hard crash out of turn.
Hold the brake right there. Hold the brake. Hold the brake. Nice save.
And Marcus Ambrose, the Australian driver and rookie contender, who was a noted road racer, used a little road racing skill, Rusty, to get that car spun around.
Guys, come on.
As we're listening to this radio chatter right now.
We hit anything? I think so.
We were talking right before that accident happened, guys. These guys are all over the racetrack. You saw them sliding everywhere. You can just tell this track is so abrasive on the tires. The tires are so hard. These guys have no grip. They're just all over the place out there right now. They got to get some time in before they can get racing again because they're sliding around. Look at Ambrose. Got that rear end kicked out all the way around. Jerry, when you get in that position, man, you just cannot catch it. That thing's gone.
He spins the car. You see the roof flaps come up, Rusty, and it's like he nails the throttle. Watch the smoke come off the tires, and what a job. It's sort of...
Well, Marcus did a great job of holding on to that car right there. Generally, you don't ever spin off a turn 4 and not hit anything, but he didn't touch nothing. I'm sure he was surprised as anybody.
A spin that would have made Joey Chitwood proud, the famous thrill show creator. Marcus Ambrose from Tasmania, just south of Australia. A two-time road racing champion and the co-leader for Rookie of the Year this year, spins it around and brings out caution. Andy, as a car owner, you're going to love to see a guy keep it off the wall.
It looked like a lot of skill and a little luck in this one. We can see that's almost a classic case of aero loose. We saw that the 18 car get right up behind him there and get him loose. Got behind on his steering and got really lucky off turn 4 not to hit the wall.
It feels, when you watch these cars, it looks like they're just on top of the racetrack sliding around, meaning that if you're a driver, we talk this language all the time. When you drive down on turn 1, the car sits in the ground. It gets a lot of wheel travel, and you really feel the grip of the car. But sometimes you drive in, and it feels like the car just never gets down. It just stands on top of the racetrack and skates along, doesn't travel the wheels as much as it's supposed to, and that's what it looked like happened to Marcus Ambrose. He was on top of that racetrack getting in, it just busted right out from underneath him.
Well, you heard Greg Connor, the crew chief, talking to him a moment ago. Let's check in his pits with Jamie Little.
Well, Doc, Marcos Ambrose leading the rookie points right now. Basically, he came in, he got some sticker tires, went out and said they were horrible, just totally inconsistent from the other tires they've been running. He spun it out, and as we saw, heck of a save for him. And his crew chief counting him down now. Marcus Ambrose just making his 4th start this year. Hey, Tim Brewer, want to elaborate a little bit?
Hey, I'm 59 car. You know, he's back here in the back and all that dirty air. He spins off coming off that corner. Hey, I've been monitoring those lap times. The 12 car lap 56, ran 31:30. He likes that air out front. Rusty got that downforce on those hot tires. Feels awful good.
Well, the lap time of 31:30, that's a very fast lap time. As Tim was saying, you fans are generally listening to miles per hour, but like we said earlier in the show, we like talking lap times. So 31:30, that's awful quick around the racetrack. In fact, that's one of the fastest laps on the track right now.
All right, we told you up front, it is a battle of the Busch brothers, who basically cut their teeth at a little racetrack just off the corner here, a little 3/8 mile track where they began racing when they were youngsters, as we check in the Kurt Busch pits.
And Doc, how important do you think track position was at that little bull ring? Everything, huh? That's a lesson they learned very well, and that's really applying here today at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. A lot of guys told me that before the race. Track position would be important. This 12 team decided to take on 2 right side tires on that pit stop. They did that. They gained 4 positions and the lead on pit road. And Kurt radioed back as soon as this caution came out. Good adjustments. They made a little air pressure adjustment to help a loose race car.
Guys, I think that's probably the right decision. It means the tire pressures are already up on all the tires. The left side tires had their pressures already built up into them. Now look, these tires are not wearing much at all, so it's not a bad idea just to go ahead and throw right sides, go out there and run. If I had right side tires on and kept the left sides, Andy, that would probably keep my car tighter in the beginning of the run.
That's one rule of thumb we say if our cars are loose, back end sliding out from under it. Sometimes if you just put new right sides, leave the old lefts on with the built-up air, it'll tighten the car up a little bit.
All right, this caution flag will make the 36 car of Brent Sherman the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass car. He was the first driver a lap down. Now I guess to go back on the lead lap, and there's a look at the Big Lot Chevrolet and how appropriate that Brent Sherman is running pretty well here. He was a former Air Force fighter pilot, and this racetrack is positioned right next to Nellis Air Force Base, where we've been seeing training all afternoon with some of the F-15s, F-16s from the Air Force pilots taking off, and I think they're coming over and watching a little NASCAR racing too while they're at it. Yeah, they are right next to it, door to us.
Yeah, he just got the clearance to go around the pace car and line up on the runway behind the field.
Boy, you talk about it feel good early in the race, and you go a lap down and you get that lucky dog and you get back in there. Your whole crew's going, hey man, we're back in this baby. They were feeling pretty blue before that happened, but now they got to be feeling really good.
As the field lines up behind the safety car, we'll see if Kurt Busch can hold off Kyle Busch. And the younger brother is Kyle by 7 years.
Ready? Green flag.
There's Montoya, last week's winner in Mexico City, along with his teammate, the 41 Reed Sorensen. Juan Pablo Montoya, by the way, being shown 3 laps down in 36th position because of a problem and an unscheduled pit stop early on.
And Jerry, this is what Juan Pablo Montoya wanted. Montoya's car has not been handling good all week long here. Brad Parrott had that car handling perfect last week at Mexico City. They have just not hit on it here. I'm afraid he's not going to win his first oval track race today unless something crazy happens. But he is so unhappy with this car. Now his Cup car in the race on Sunday, he's very happy with that car. In fact, he was 4th quick in practice.
Speaking of the struggles for Montoya, let's check in their pits with Mike.
Well, Doc, you know what they say. You're only as good as your next race. Well, after the euphoria of Mexico City, that's dissipated. Trouble on the racetrack.
Out of turn 4. Oh, heavy. One car sliding across and nowhere for Brent Sherman to go as the 18 car. That is the Joe Gibbs car.
How bad are we, Terry?
Oh, boy, that's unlucky dog.
Got the right rear pretty good.
Well, so much what I just said. Hey, he just got the lucky dog. Now he's very unlucky.
As you see now, the window net is down. That is the sign that NASCAR asked the drivers, if you are okay, put the window net down. And here is the 18 car of Brad Coleman, the 19-year-old out of Houston, Texas, driving for Joe Gibbs and making only his 4th career start and having a pretty good run here until that car just sort of got away up in turn 4. Well, let's ride along and see what happened to the youngster up in turn 4 as he goes by the 28 car. And suddenly the bobble, and it's up against the wall, thus bringing out yellow for the 5th time today.
I used to think it didn't matter what deodorant I chose.
BC. ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Busch Series on ABC. Brought to you by Nationwide is on your side. TGI Fridays Restaurant's new right portion, right price menu. Give me more Fridays. And Just for Men. Stay in the game with Just for Men hair color.
Record crowd on hand at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We are under yellow for the 5th time this afternoon as the cars are slowed behind the pace car. Let's visit with our in-race reporter, David Gilliland.
Dave Gillen, Rusty Wallace, ESPN. You got us?
Gotcha, Rusty.
David, these guys are spinning out all over this racetrack. The cars all look out of control. Which one of these corners is giving you the most problem?
Right there, coming off a forward, but he's kind of wrecking there. It's treacherous. The track just lost a little bit of grip, and our FreeCreditReport.com Ford Fusion's a little on the free side already. So, you know, with the track losing grip, it's just we're really trying to get this thing tightened up.
We heard Tony Stewart earlier complaining like crazy about the racetrack. What do you think of the track? You think it just needs a year on it? What's your opinion?
You know, I don't know. You know, I don't know if this heat, you know, is bringing any of the oils up or what. But, yeah, some curing would be nice for it. I think, you know, next year, too, when we come back with, if Goodyear brings it back a little bit different tire, that'd help, too.
All right, Dave, thanks for talking to you, man.
All right, there's a look at David Gilliland, the FreeCreditReport.com Ford is back in the 28th position. Is his crew now talking to him about how to grip the racetrack? Now, why are we under yellow here for the 5th time of the afternoon? Exactly what he was talking about. The trouble spot is turn 4.
You see Brad Coleman get up into turn 4, nobody around him. He just loses it and gets up in the wall. Now, this is the same Brad Coleman we saw last week. Let's take a look at the 36 car. Oh, we just missed it right there in the shot. Here it comes back. Let's take another angle here. Brad Coleman spins, gets to the wall. No place to go for the 36 car. Oh, my gosh. And he just got the lucky dog back. He's probably thinking, what in the world? I went from a hero to a hobo, man, or nothing flat. But this is the same Brad Coleman that ran so well at Mexico City last week, guys. He was really flying around that racetrack, not so lucky today.
Yeah, the youngster just getting some experience on a very high-speed racetrack here. And very lucky that he didn't get hit in the door. It's just a matter of inches right there that he didn't get hit in the door.
There typically are trouble spots at each track for each Saturday or Sunday event, and there's no doubt where it is today here at Las Vegas. Turn 4, 4 of the 5 caution flags have happened in turn 4. As you just heard David Gilliland tell you, Rusty, that is a spot the drivers are concerned about and very tentative.
You know, and you wouldn't think they'd have the problem off of turn 4 as much as they're having, because this is a triable racetrack. They're coming off of turn 4, and they got more breather room. I would have thought the problem would have been in the bumps going through turn 1 and 2, but they haven't seemed to have a problem right there.
Well, here's the 60 car, Carl Edwards, who is our points leader, and he has had a bit of a struggle with this brand new car throughout the weekend as he heads down pit road, as do others. Here's the 12 car of Kurt Busch headed down to Dave Burns.
He will give up the lead, Jerry. They will take on 2 tires this time as well. It will be the left sides to match those right sides they took earlier. No other adjustments.
Just a little synopsis of Carl Edwards' day. He says it's loose, slick, and absolutely no grip. That's what he's looking for on the racetrack. He came over the radio a little while ago and said, thank goodness the Busch cars don't drive like the Cup cars.
As he takes fuel only now, when these guys are talking about how much they like how the Cup cars drive, it's sort of a bit different than what you normally hear. The Busch cars are easier to drive than the Cup cars.
Well, that is a little bit peculiar because the Busch cars have got more downforce. They have more rear spoiler by about 1.25 inches, I believe, and that gives you more downforce. Plus, they have less horsepower. It does it when the throttle goes, when the driver goes right back into throttle, they don't spin the rear tires as easy, the Busch cars do. But a lot of guys like that Cup car, and I got a feeling the reason is because the 110-inch wheelbase. What do you think, Andy?
Well, the wheelbase may be the factor here, but what I see happening is half of these cars stayed out, half of these leaders stayed out, and half of them pitted, so it's going to be real interesting coming back to green.
Okay, pit stops a moment ago. Now watch the Harvick crew.
The pressure's up a little bit. Top it off again, and then we'll work our way back up.
Here's Shane Wilson talking to watch this right rear tire just roll away right in front of KCK.
Okay, that's going to draw a penalty right there. The NASCAR has a rule that says that your tires have to be in the inside half of the pit box before your car can leave. And we can see them right here. The NASCAR officials, I think, have told them they're going to have to come back in the pits for a penalty.
Well, NASCAR know what you're going to find on pit road. How about the Blue Man Group getting ready to make their pit stop? Back with more ESPN on ABC in a moment. 15 miles north of the glitz and glamour that is the world-famous Las Vegas Strip, as the NASCAR Busch Series cars on show today here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch still at top of the field. The top 11 cars did not pit under that most recent caution flag, and Busch continues to lead Dave Blaney now and stretching it out to about 8 or 9 car lengths.
Paul Menard got a great start. He jumped on the outside on that start, which is legal. Passed him a few cars. He's got a big head of steam.
You know, what I see, a lot of these guys are timid on these restarts, and they just shoot to the top side of the racetrack where they don't slow them down at all.
Yeah, that's Paul Menard in the 15 car. He just blasted on that restart.
Meanwhile, back up front, Tony Stewart makes the pass on the 10 car to take the second spot away. And Tony, who started back in 17th position and was very critical of the redesign and reconfiguration of this racetrack, having a pretty good afternoon.
Well, he's having a good afternoon right now. I think he probably spoke too quick that he didn't like this, he didn't like that. The track looks to me to be just fine right now. No problem with the racetrack. These guys that stayed out, Andy, it looks like they're up to speed quicker than the guys that put new tires on and have got to burn some of that fuel off. You see them still dancing all over the place, but the guys that stayed out, like the 5 car, got that track position, no problem there.
Okay, the restart we talked about a moment ago, where it is legal, as Andy Petrie told you, to pass on the outside once the green flag waves. Now watch the yellow 15 car of Menard.
Oh man, he throttled up, he got a good start, had his tires cleaned off, got right past David Stremme. Good run, 3 wide into that corner, but he made it.
That's what I like, a race car driver is ready to get to work.
Up front, Tony Stewart is getting to work in a hurry, trying to look to the inside. Chevy passing Chevy, and now Stewart, for the first time today, takes the lead here on lap 75.
Hey, not too bad for a driver that hates the racetrack. He looks like he's looking pretty good to me out there right now. I'll promise you, he'll change his mind. If this cat wins this race, he won't be complaining.
Hey, I can't wait to see Chris Powell handing the trophy in victory lane and see what kind of hug they have for each other.
You don't think he'll give it back to him, will he?
I don't know if he'll hand him one. We'll have to see. All right, Tony Stewart becomes our 8th different leader. We've had 9 lead changes, and we are still 24 laps away from the halfway point. And with more on the general manager of the Speedway, let's check in with Alan.
Hey, Doc, after Tony Stewart's strong comments on our pre-race show, and specifically mentioning Chris by name, I wanted to offer Chris the opportunity to come on the broadcast and discuss why they redesigned the racetrack and what the thinking was behind the changes. Chris's response to that offer was, I'll let the racing speak for itself.
Well, I think that was a pretty good decision. We were watching Tony Stewart just a little while ago, Andy. Looks like he had fluid coming out of the right-hand side of that car. I believe that 33 car is overheating.
I think Tony Stewart was in a hurry to get in the lead. We see Carl Edwards working the bottom of Kurt Busch. You can see those bumps in the racetrack when they go in there, and that car just jumping up and down as they run side by side.
Yeah, here's the 33 Rusty's referring to. When he made the pass a moment ago, you saw some steam or water come out of the right part of the hood there, up toward the windshield.
Yeah, he's hot right now. That car's overheating. We have to talk to his picture. In fact, it's pouring a lot of water out and has not stopped yet. You know, generally when the air gets through the grill, it'll cool these engines down, but we're about 3 laps into this run. It's really pouring it out right now. I'm afraid he's got some problems.
Yeah, he's going to have problems with that. They're going to have to fix that. They're probably going to have to end up putting some water back in that car to make that car finish. So it wouldn't be long. He'll be on pit road if it keeps doing that.
The hotter it gets, the more difficult it is to breathe. Just like if you're right here running a race and it's 80 degrees and you begin to overheat, you can't breathe and you slow down. That's what's happening to Tony Stewart right now as Kyle Busch has gone back around him.
I was trying to get a look at his grill and see if he had any debris on the front of that grill on the 33 car. I don't see anything right now. Maybe just a little regular trash that's on there. Got to remember, he hasn't pitted, so he could have some debris on it yet. Let's take a look. Looks pretty clean to me.
Let's see what they're saying in the Tony Stewart pits. Jamie?
Well, Doc, I'll tell you what, I think we just startled the whole team. Jason Ratcliffe, his crew chief, said, no, everything's good. And then all of a sudden they jumped up and they were seeing what we saw on the monitor. They said, he's quiet. He's not saying anything on the radio. So they're assuming, they're asking him right now if water temp's okay. Very quiet. All seems to be okay in the 33 car, guys. So far, I'm right now running second.
Oh, it's 270.
All right, here a moment ago is the 33 car.
10-4.
All right, 270 degrees, Tony's reporting. The crew didn't even know the car was running hot. Us up in the ESPN booth, we could see it on the camera, told the pit crew, he's told Tony, and Tony's went, oh my gosh, it's 270 degrees. That's how hard these guys are focusing on their car. Didn't even have time to look at the gauges. These cars are running so loose out there.
We had his hand full off turn 4 when he gave up the lead.
But it also shows you what kind of talent these drivers are to be able to run these cars this hard on a new racetrack. And Tony, again, has driven all the way from 17th starting spot. He took the lead on lap 75.
And we still see steam coming out of the car, and I know Dan Stillman's going to have him checking it really close.
And the oil's through the roof.
Okay, these guys need to bring this thing down pit road right now if they got any shot at all of making this race. 275 and the oil is climbing through the roof. It's just a matter of time before it blows the hood clear off that car with a blown motor.
Tony Stewart, who has 2 career wins in the NASCAR Busch Series, both of them coming at Daytona. There's Dan Stillman and the crew down there, the Old Spice crew, very concerned. They saw what we were showing you at home. That's how they found out when we saw the steam.
Look out for water pressure there, water pressure. 34. And 10-4.
What we see there is a cool down unit. These guys will plug that thing in on a pit stop and it'll add water back to the cooling system so they can get this thing cooled back down. But if they don't get in the pits pretty quick, they're not going to have an engine that's going to be able to cool down. It'll be blown.
Okay, Andy, here's the problem. Risk and reward. He's running on Sunday. They're running 200 miles an hour. Do you risk staying on the racetrack and having this engine blow up and spinning and crashing and possibly getting hurt? I'd bring it down pit road right now. The big thing is tomorrow. The big thing's tomorrow. That's his money day.
Remember, we showed you it was this driver at Lowe's Motor Speedway last May who was injured in the 33 car when he smacked the wall and fractured his collarbone or his shoulder blade and injured some ribs and had to sit out with a substitute driver a week later. Now Tony Stewart doesn't have much choice. He's going to have to come to pit road.
They're holding their breath right now. 275 on the oil temperature, raising to 280.
280 and climbing still. The oil's all the way back around.
They're just trying to hang on for a caution flag. It's the only chance they have to stay in contention if they get a caution and get it cooled down. If they come down pit road right now, they're going to lose so many laps that they're not going to be in contention. So they're just going to hold out and see if they get a caution before the engine blows up, and they can get it cooled back down.
All right, here's the 29 car of Jeff Burton being shown in 3rd spot. Dave Burns.
Well, here in Struggleville, Jerry, the 29 car having its own troubles. Jeff radioing in that the car acts like it doesn't know where it's going. The crew asking him, well, is it loose going into the corner? Does it feel like it's going to spin out? Jeff said, I don't know. It doesn't know where it's going when it gets into the corner. They want to put some air back in the right front that they removed on one of the previous pit stops to try to get more control of this car.
Remember, as Dave told us earlier, they had made significant air pressure changes to the 29 car because they couldn't get it to turn in the corners. It got better, and now, as Dave mentions, the car is again dancing around and not turning. Well, we are hearing that tire issues may be developing on the 16 car.
285 now.
All right, this is the point right now. We got a tire problem on the 16 car they're reporting. But with Tony Stewart's issue, him as a driver needs to make a decision whether to bring that thing down. Because if it blows up and he's in the wall, it's his own fault right now.
Well, what's happening with Greg Biffle? Let's check in with Mike.
Well, Doc, a bit of a scare in the 16 pick. Greg Biffle came over the radio not too long ago saying the car feels a little bit weird. Wasn't sure if he had a right front tire going down. His team leapt to the wall, ready to pit that car. But then the car started to feel a little bit better. Greg thinks he might have just run something over, and it might have been a momentary lapse in feel for that race car.
These tires are so unpredictable that some of these guys don't realize what's going on. They feel something funny and they go, wait a minute, I got a tire going down. They run another corner or two or another lap and say, well, maybe not. Maybe it's just the way this tire feels.
We might want to explain again to our viewers that this is a right side tire that was tested here with the new pavement, but the left side tire, Goodyear opted to bring a new left side tire because of safety, because of what they saw in terms of speed and temperature. And these teams don't have a lot of experience on this left side tire.
This is kind of a catch-22, Jerry. They made the tire very, very durable. Goodyear's did a wonderful job of always putting a safe tire underneath these drivers. And it's always a real tough deal to find a mix. You know, the drivers want grip, they complain about grip. If they don't have enough grip, they spin out and crash. If you blow a tire out because it's too soft, you spin out and crash. So, you know, what's the situation? Now we see Tony Stewart. We just got a report that he's slowing down. The engine's probably losing power.
Well, he just gave up a spot to Jeff Burton. He's still under power, but I'll tell you, he's going to have to come in here and get that thing fixed. I know they're trying to get a caution. They're hoping and praying to get a caution so they can get it cooled back down.
Well, I think right now he's just running it with all the gauges completely buried on the car and just hoping that it's going to stay alive to a caution flag, like you said. And boy, that's a real dangerous thing to do.
If you're Tony Stewart's crew chief, Andy Petrie, what are you thinking about that you hope it is so you can fix it as opposed to something you can't fix?
Well, you'd hope it's maybe just something on the grill, or you got a little too much tape and you can get in there and get some water in the system and get it cooled back down, maybe pull a little bit of tape off and get back to racing. But if they have to do it under green, it's just going to cost them too much time to stay in contention. And the only reason they're running this race is to win. They're not here for points. They're just here to win.
All right, let's find out exactly what Dan Stillman will do. Jamie Little?
Well, Doc, there was a radio miscommunication. Actually, Dan Stillman, the crew chief, couldn't even hear Tony Stewart for the last 6 laps. So Tony's basically talking to our television audience, and his crew chief was out of the loop. But we're going to talk to him right now. Dan, what exactly is going on with the car right now? What do you plan to do?
We got to pit in about 6 or 7 laps. We're going to see if we can see anything wrong with it. But it was running really good. We got the temps went through the roof, so we're going to have to look at it here shortly.
You gambling on getting a caution here and hanging out there until then?
Yeah, we would like a caution.
All right, guys, that was playing to Tony Stewart's favor.
All right, Dan Stillman hoping to bring Tony Stewart down in 5 or 6 laps. And they are hoping and praying that a yellow flag will fly. We have already had 5 today, but right now we are all green at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Well, Kyle Busch, a Las Vegas native, is our leader. We'll be back with more after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Back at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Tony Stewart in the pits with the Kevin Harvick crew. Dan Stillman and company going to work. Take a look at the water, just steam pouring out of the hood.
Right now, Jerry, they have no hope except just to open that hood, cool this thing back down. They're not going to that at all. They're just putting tires in this car and yelling to pull tape off of it. And I'm afraid that's not going to get the job done. They got to cool this thing down. You saw the tape just come off the front. Don't believe that's going to be enough, guys. There's no water in that thing.
Dave Burns.
And the 29 car of Jeff Burton gives up the lead. It's going to be a track bar adjustment. They're having trouble making that adjustment. The wrench going in the rear window. Down just a little bit to help Jeff's race car. Again, he was having trouble with the handling of that car. He will change for green flag pit stops. Also, Dave Blaney has been on pit road as well for 4. Joe Nemechek as well has pitted under these green flag conditions.
There's David Strimmy's number 22 car. Strimmy, who started on the front row for this race, as well as will be there for the Cup race on Sunday. Down and away. Making his pit stop as we have now reached the halfway point here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in the NASCAR Busch Series. Our leader is the 4 car. Regan Smith, a 24-year-old driver, being shown at the head of the pack. Only the 4th time in his career he has led, and here is young Stephen Wallace coming down pit road in the Wise Trade Dodge.
They have changed 4 tires in the car. Before that, he was running 12th, running good. He's been complaining a lot. The car's very, very loose after the last 4-tire change. Looks like they're going a lap down 4 tires. Massaro's there, Mike.
Stephen's been complaining a little bit about the car and the tires, saying they're completely inconsistent. On the last run, the car went from extremely tight to undrivable loose. Those are his words in 1 heat cycle. He said he's coming very close to wrecking the car. This pit stop was something he needed desperately. Dave?
Regan Smith, a guy who gave up the lead, needed some adjustments on that car. Been running very well, and he's been getting a lot of help from his Nextel Cup teammate, Mark Martin, this weekend. Regan very confident at the start of this race.
All right, we are being told there may be a violation on the 66. There's the commitment cone.
Just a pass-through.
Yeah, you're supposed to make your pit stop in between the two cones. That's a commitment cone. And I believe he also sped off a pit road, so he's got a couple of issues. I think there's a pass-through penalty coming up for him. And here he comes down pit road.
So entering pit road, he went above. There he goes below that orange commitment cone and gets down to 45 miles an hour. He will pass through, and then exiting after they made the adjustments. There's a look. Now, he's 19 years old. He's just learning a lot about the racing, but obviously these kind of things really hurt you.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, that entry, there's so many little rules they have on inner pit road. It's unbelievable. Now, you come through with the outside of the cone. That's not, in my mind, not a violation. In NASCAR's mind, I guess it is. That's the commitment line, whether you're going to pit or stay in the track. He obviously came a little too hot, missed the cone, brought it back down pit road. So that's something that team's got to take a look at. That's something I don't agree with personally.
All right, back up front. Here's a 12 car of Kurt Busch. Has led 21 of the 104 laps, making only his first start here in the year in the NASCAR Busch Series.
And now what has happened here is that they cycled through this green flag stop. These guys stopped on the last caution. The guys that just pitted under green stayed out under that caution, and so it's going to be about 15 laps that they're going to have to hold their breath and hope that a caution doesn't come out and get them caught a lap down.
Time, put the time, Kurt.
Yeah.
7-4 will be coming in. Windshield's good. Need a water. Yep, got it ready for you.
Yeah, Andy, Kurt Busch, Carl Edwards, Casey Kane, Bobby Labonte. These cars are in the top 4. They stopped back on lap 69 in that last caution, as you said, so they have a little breathing room in terms of when they want to come on the pit road.
Watch your speed.
Yeah, but it looks like they're going to come on down pit road now because nothing for them to lose.
Well, here comes Kurt Busch bringing the Penske Dodge down, headed toward Dave Burns.
And Jerry, other than that liquid refreshment that Kurt ordered up, they will take on 2 right sides. Remember, they've been going rights, left, rights. This is the rights change. They may not change lefts the rest of the day. They looked great the last time they came off. He does want a slight air pressure adjustment out of the right rear tire, getting away and into the next pit stall. That rolled ahead. We'll have to see what the ruling is on that, but the car just a little bit loose right now, air out of the right rear.
Here's Carl Edwards, our current point leader and race leader, as Edwards brought a brand new car here, and he and PK, Pierre Kittel, his crew chief, have certainly struggled. They were really scratching their heads in the garage area as trying to get this car dialed in. Last year's winner here, Casey Kane, coming down pit road. This is the Ray Evernham Dodge, headed down toward you, Mike Massaro.
And Jerry, Casey Kane feeling pretty good about his car. The only thing he said during that last run was that the front end was a little bit tight and the back end is in the racetrack. A 4-tire change and a slight air pressure adjustment. Also a chassis adjustment. You see the wedge wrench go in. Moving around now to the left side of the car, making the 4-tire change. Casey Kane still feels pretty good about his car.
You know, when these cars leave pit road, you hear them squeal like that. Those tires are so hard, they're actually sound like a toy car or some type of animation going on. I've never heard tires squeal on a race car, a stock car, like they do here today.
Almost sounds like a street car, the way it'll squeal when you spin a tire.
Yeah, it's something these cars just don't do. I mean, but that's how hard the tire is. They're just very, very hard.
Fingernails on a blackboard. Here's Denny Hamlin coming in. Jamie.
Denny Hamlin coming in right side tires only, guys. We're seeing different strategies all day. We see some 4 tires, and here on Denny Hamlin, the 20 car, just fuel, and those right sides. Tough, little tight there. Eric McClure in front of him, but Denny Hamlin is out and away.
And a reminder again, NASCAR has given these teams 9 sets of tires today. Ordinarily, they would only get 6 sets to try to keep costs down in the NASCAR Busch Series. And here's our leader, points leader and race leader, Carl Edwards, now on pit road as he heads down at 45 miles an hour. But first, let's go up to the 77 pit. Bobby Labonte in front of Allen.
Hitting from second place, Doc. He told the crew chief, Wally Rogers, the car is pretty close. I wouldn't change much. They're going to take on 4 tires and fill it up with fuel. Mike Massaro.
Kevin Harvick has a problem with his right rear quarter panel brace. It's broken. They were unable, however, to fix it until the last pit stop. They're waiting for a caution to get that done. In the meantime, just 4 tires stop, and they pulled out the left front fender on Harvick's car.
And the 60 of Kevin Harvick headed back out Certainly Carl Edwards headed back out on the racetrack. They made some significant adjustments, and they had the adjustment wrenches in both the right and left side windows there for Carl Edwards' car.
Well, that's a serious chassis adjustment when you're sticking a wedge wrench in both holes in the window and turning on those screws. You don't usually see that.
Yeah, you usually see them go to one corner. They're either going to work the track bar, put a little wedge in it, and make an adjustment like that. Stephen Light been running good out there again today. Pit stop going well at the moment. Let's take a look and see if he's got a good stop here, guys. Track position right now is very important. These guys got to spend the least amount of time on pit road as you possibly can. 18-2, not a good stop. You know, you want to see it down to 14s, 15s, stuff like that, but not a bad one either.
Holly Barraclaw and company for the 90 car that's owned by Robert Yates. Stephen Light, the 20-year-old driver from Asheville, North Carolina. Going back on the racetrack, and guess who is back toward the front? The 5 car of Kyle Busch.
We see Bobby Labonte in the 77 car there. He just pitted. He's going to try to work this 5 car pretty hard on these fresh tires and get his lap back. He's the first car 1 lap down.
You know, you get a race like this where everybody's concerned about tires, they're concerned about grip. You can see them. Things are going on the day that normally don't happen here. The cars are getting spread out a little bit. A lot of drivers complain about things they never complain about.
Now you talk about the 77 car trying to work the 5 car. The 5 car is the leader. The 77 car is a lap down, but if he can get back by the 5 car, he would be on the tail end of the lead lap if the caution were to come out.
Yeah, and he desperately wants to do that right now. He's running hard. And I don't know if Kyle Busch is going to rough him up or play hardball here or not with him. He might let Bobby just take the outside groove and get around outside and get back in the lead lap.
What do you mean rough him up? What do you do?
Well, I mean, he blocks him. He knows Bobby's a little quicker. He's kind of, hey, I'm not going to let this guy by because I might have to race him later on. And I don't want to give him the spot right now because he might beat me. And I don't want that to happen. So these guys drive pretty hard. Just kind of my own terminology, Jerry. Rough him up a little bit, you know.
That's the old St. Louis short tracker, Rusty Wallace, talking about roughing him up here.
And right now, Labonte just got on the outside of Kyle Busch to get himself back in that lead lap. Right now, the 77 just got around Kyle Busch, and he's back on the lead lap right now. Just the thing he's playing, that's working real good. He's got a good handling car. He's up on the outside of that racetrack, entering turn 3, a lot of momentum. Now, Kyle's not going to let him get too far away, that's for sure.
Remember, the 5 car pitted on lap 97, but the 77 didn't come in the lap 110, so he has 13 laps, fresher tires. And Andy, as a crew chief and a driver, that does make a difference.
Tires are always better.
And this is something that, boy, this is where you want the caution. Give me that lap back, man. He's driving his brains out. And he knows he's got the 5 car Kyle Busch right up his tail. That gives a lot of pressure.
We see him running nose to tail right here. You see Kyle Busch not letting Bobby Labonte get very far away in the 77 car. Bobby's got his hands full with Kyle Busch.
Bobby Labonte, who won the 1991 NASCAR Busch Series title prior to going on and becoming a Nextel Cup champion. Now trying to hang on, hoping for a yellow flag as he can get back on the lead lap and stay there.
We see our draft boost right here. When these cars run nose to tail, these cars affect each other by the air. And we see the downforce of the 77 car being affected by the 5 car.
That is
caution's out. Caution's out. Hold the brakes right there. Everybody's going above you. Cut a tire.
We're listening in to Greg Biffle.
Cut a tire. I heard it down the back stretch. That's what I get for trying to move that guy up. Just trying to give the 15 room, you know. We're all done, Eddie. Cut it right rear.
Yeah, heavy damage on the right side. Heavy damage on the right side of the Greg Biffle Ford. He has hit a ton. Here's what happened a moment ago.
Yeah, you saw the rear end kick out front of the car. The nose went back up, and he tried to get that thing back off and save it a little bit. But, boy, at least he didn't get driver's side first. He got knocked out in practice here when this track was built, and he knows those walls hurt.
We heard him
in Las Vegas.
Yeah, we heard him say on the radio that it was his own fault that he moved one of those cars out of the way. Maybe they've had some contact earlier that caused that tire to get cut down.
Well, he said he had a right rear go down.
Yeah, but he was talking about how he must have got against somebody and cut it down.
Let's check in with Mike.
Well, Doc, you hit it right on the head. Right rear tire going down on Greg Biffle. He had a premonition something like this might transpire today. on the final lap of happy hour for Cup practice this afternoon. He got extremely loose in about the same place on the racetrack, kept it off the wall, but nearly crashed. That's all he could talk about before pre-race activities occurred today. So he kind of knew, got that wake-up call that something like this could happen today.
All right, we are under caution now for the 6th time this afternoon. Heavy impact by the former series champion for the NASCAR Busch Series, as Greg Biffle has had a hard impact. Here is the 5 car. Our leader, Kyle Busch, coming down pit road, 45 miles an hour. Let's head up to the Jeff Burton pits with Dave.
And Jerry, just a couple of laps ago, Jeff's car got sideways. He didn't know why. It got loose. He wanted the car, an adjustment made down on the track bar for fresh tires. They may be able to make it on one stop after this, or they're very close on the fuel. Jamie?
Well, Kyle Busch in for service right now. His car is too loose. He said they took some wedge out, made an air pressure adjustment, and he's out and away.
Here's a 33 car that had such a good run going.
Tape off, pull it out as best you can.
A lot of work going on in front of the 33 car. Tony Stewart now has been overheating all day long. I got to tell you guys, I'm surprised his car is still on the racetrack. It got so hot. Generally, these engines blow, and they pulled more tape off yet just now. And the car sits there running like that with no air going through the front of it. Generally, it's going to overheat. These are critical moments right now that this car is not going around with no air going through the grill.
Tony Stewart has stayed on the lead lap.
You'll be good.
And he continues to be a factor here. We are under caution for the 6th time. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
And welcome back. Our Holiday Inn race recap. All the talk was about the new steeper turns and the new pavement here in Las Vegas, and it came into play very early. Lap 4, turn 4, Brett Rowe, his first Busch start, gets loose, and his day is done very early. After the restart, it was the same. Turn 4, Matt Kenseth loses control of his car, getting loose in the back. Collects Clint Boyer. Casey Mears also knocked out. The Busch brothers have been running very strong. Kurt, the older Busch brothers, led 22 laps, and Kyle has been the very strong number 5 car here. Tony Stewart's car has been running very hot. That's been a story we've been following. Other victims claim Brett Coleman and Brent Sherman taken out right there, and Stewart's crew working furiously to try to cool that engine down, and you're just about ready for green flag racing. Lap 121 of 200. Let's go back up to Jerry.
All right, thank you, Chris. We have 16 cars on the lead lap. Kurt Busch will lead him down. He is the leader in the 12 car. And the 12 car is the 3rd car in line. It's the yellow car just passing by as they sail into turn 1.
And Kurt's got a couple of cars in front of him, tail end the lead lap right now. He's trying to get around those guys to get some clean air. When they get clean air in the front of these cars, they handle much, much better, and that's where Kurt's trying to get right now with the number 12 car.
On the onboard camera, you see the 20 car of Denny Hamlin in front of him. That's the red car. He is trying to stay on the lead lap. He is right in front of the leader. If the 12 passes him, he does go a lap down.
We saw a lot of debris coming off the front of Kurt Busch's car. It looks like a windshield tear off right up there on the right-hand side.
Let's check in the Kurt Busch pits. Dave?
And Jerry, he got the lead on pit road. Oh, and a crash right now. Dave Blaney and Jason Leffler, teammates, Doc.
Teammates again. We saw it last week at Mexico City, and now again teammates, this time Leffler and the 10 car of Blaney, both for Todd Braun Motorsports. 2 of the Toyotas have heavy damage, bringing out caution again here on lap 123.
This car's a tore up big time.
Pressure. You're leaking all the water out.
The strongest Toyota teams we've seen all day long out there running, and boy, they just wiped them both out. Let's take a look, see what happens here. Oh, it just looks like Dave Blaney loses it on top side of the racetrack. Classic case of that arrow loose again, Andy.
Yeah, and he just caught his teammate up in that. There was no contact between them until after Dave Blaney spun. Just unfortunate for this team to have both their cars wrapped up in this.
And Leffler has nowhere to go.
That is bad luck. Look, I'm telling you, a 38 car, Jason Leffler, back there, mind his own business. His own teammate spins, and he's the next guy in line. When you go back to the shop on Monday morning, they're going to look look at these cars and go, man, Todd Braun's team's going to go, I can't believe this just happened.
Well, heavy damage, and guess what? We are one caution flag away from tying the record. Not a record we wanted to tie here today. Back with more from Las Vegas after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
Streets of Las Vegas, are they paved? Well, all week long, if not longer, they have wondered about the tires holding up here at the Las Vegas Speedway, and we have had numerous problems today. Greg Biffle earlier today had a tire blow, moving Krisiloff out of the way, but that set up a later problem about half a lap later. You'll see Biffle losing it. He is standing by with Allen right now, and let's go to him.
And he's got his nose in the monitor that we carry around with us, watching that replay. Greg, did the contact help with the cut down tire?
You know what, we're really looking at it. I don't think so. You know, I heard the tire go flat. I could hear it from inside the car go flat 3/4 of the way down the backstretch. So I'd lifted early, tried to get the car slowed down, and it's hard to drive with a flat right rear tire. But you know, we probably ran over something out there. There's so many cars crashing, and there's so much debris on the racetrack that you know, it's just a horrible thing that we're doing out here. We're not putting on a very good race, and the tires won't stick to the racetrack at all. And tomorrow's just, I don't even know what tomorrow's going to be like. These cars got small motor and a big spoiler on them, so you can at least drive them. But you know, tomorrow's going to be even worse than this, I think.
Is there a way for you to give people who aren't race drivers some sense of what it's like behind the wheel out there today for these guys that are still out there?
Yeah, have you ever been on black ice? That's what it's like, black ice. You just get to the corner and you turn the wheel and all 4 tires chatter. You know, it chatters in the front, chatters in the back, and you try and give it gas, and you just hope that it doesn't chatter out from under you or chatter the front up into the guy beside you. And then if you get side by side, it just sucks you around. It's just that simple, because it's relying on whatever arrow it can get to try and stay on the racetrack to start with. So it's unfortunate that we got that hard of a tire on it. If we had a softer tire and the speeds were a little bit faster, at least we'd be still racing, you know.
Thanks for the explanation. Glad you're okay.
Well, Greg Biffle not pulling any punches either, forewarning the fact that it is very difficult today with a 300-mile race and the Cup race on Sunday for 400 miles.
It's a really good explanation of what he just said, though. I mean, he's dead right. But this, I will remind everybody, this always happens on brand new racetracks. When you have a fresh repave, Goodyear's got to really harden the tires up, because there's so much heat coming out of this asphalt and beating up these tires so bad it's unreal. Chatter, he was talking about front-end chatter. The air pressure gets so high in the tire that the tire will just not stick to the track. The drivers turn it, it has grip, then it breaks loose, has grip again and breaks loose, grip again and breaks loose. That's called chatter, and it happens at a very high rate of speed.
Well, he talked about the side bite going away and how difficult it is driving in what he termed to be black ice, because you go in the corner and turn the car and it begins to slip and slide. We have had a number of incidents here today, starting on lap 4 when the rookie driver slammed the outside wall. A few laps later, some veteran drivers, including champions, get in trouble. Then a 19-year-old gets tagged coming out of turn 4. And of course, Greg Biffle, former series champion, and the latest incident, 2 cars involved. Back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
Folks, and let's get you up to date on what's happened so far with our NASCAR.com reset. And isn't it appropriate that at a Busch race in Las Vegas, the Busch brothers would be dominant here today? And as Greg Biffle told you, it has not been pretty. They have not solved the high banking on this track, which was completely remodeled after last year's race. Now, you're looking down at the Cup cars, and we're going to ask our guys upstairs in the booth. We heard Biffle say that all hell could break loose tomorrow. Now, tell us the difference between the Busch and the Cup cars, gentlemen.
Well, you see the Busch cars have about 750 horsepower. They only turn about 9,000 RPMs. The Nextel Cup cars have about 850 horsepower, turning about 9,500 RPMs, and that's because they run a bigger carburetor. They also, the Cup cars have less downforce than the Busch cars, because the Cup cars have a shorter rear spoiler. And you see on the Busch cars, they have a 105-inch wheelbase. The Cup cars are 5 inches longer at 110 inches of wheelbase.
And as you heard Greg Biffle say, Rusty, they're concerned about tomorrow running in the 400 miles in the NASCAR Nextel Cup. They got their hands full here with a car, as you just heard Andy say, that has more downforce than what they're driving on Sunday. Sunday.
I mean, a lot of guys say, I want to run Saturday's race to get more prepared for Sunday's race. But look at all these differences. You got downforce, you got wheelbase, you got horsepower. A lot of things are different. And there's a lot of teams out there right now saying, why am I doing this? And we talked earlier in the broadcast, the risk and reward, you know, should you do it or not? Most of these guys are doing it just because it pays some extra money.
Well, one driver who had to suffer the risks a moment ago is standing by with Alan.
Jason Leffler's team had worked him up into the top 10 through some pit strategy. And Jason, what happened?
Just Blaney just looked like he lost it. I had nowhere to go. It just crashed, you know, and that's a shame. Great Clips Toyota was running really good, and started deep in the pack. Pit strategy, everything worked out good. The car was running good lap times, and you know, the hardest this tire is you're just on edge on these restarts, and you're just hanging on, and I mean, you're steering the whole time, and you just got to take it easy. And Blaney just got sideways there, and he lost it, and I had nowhere to go. I mean, it's not like you can stop or turn or anything. I mean, it's a handful of these things at the beginning of these runs, but this car was good. It's just bad luck.
All right, thanks, Jason. And we've heard that from a number of drivers today. The first few laps on a set of new tires are really a handful.
Tell you what, this is a tough situation these guys are in, right? With a new track and a hard tire. It's like they've dealt these cars. They've got to deal with it, but who's going to pay the price? And it looks like the teams and the drivers and owners are paying the price of all this carnage, all this crashing going on because this new hard tire and a new surface. I get why they do it, but boy, it's tough to navigate through.
All right, let's see if they can hang on here for the final laps as we are just past lap
ready, green flag.
131. 69 laps to go. And the Busch brothers have combined to lead 79 laps today.
That's one of the tightest corners getting into turn one, where we can get this dreaded arrow loose going on when these cars are packed side by side.
And it's also pretty wide racing off turn 2. Here's Paul Menard crashing off of turn 2.
Regan Smith is also there.
We spun down the back straightaway, guys. Looks like he got loose up off of 2.
You heard Jason Leffler just a moment ago to say these tires are a handful on a restart because I guess they're not up to pressure.
I'm not sure you can blame this on the tires. These guys are really racing hard, about 3 wide going through 1 and 2. We hadn't really seen them run 3 wide through there, and I kind of figured a little bit of a problem was developing.
Let's see again the restart here. Watch to the right side of your screen here, the 4 car and the 15 of Menard.
You see Menard just flat loses it coming off of turn 2, and it's just a classic case we talked earlier in our presentation, Andy, about arrow loose. Paul Menard just lost that car, and that's just an indication of how hard these tires are again. These drivers are doing a fabulous job holding on to these cars with what they got to work with.
Let's see what David Gilliland saw from the onboard camera.
Now, folks, it looks like he got up the right rear tire, got up in the gray.
Out.
A lot of these drivers were telling me there's a little strip right up next to the wall that's almost like paint. It's like a wet something that's up next to the wall that the cars are. They don't run through it every lap, but once you get your right rear tire up in there, it's just really slick.
And a new repave like this, Andy, a lot of guys have problems negotiating all these different shapes. And right now, you saw him get way high. We saw some of that debris fly out of his right rear corner of his car. He was getting up in what we call the kitty litter. The debris, whatever you want to call it at homes, folks, is more or less dirt and grime from all the race being run. He got up high, got into that, and spun the car.
Here's Regan Smith, who was one of the cars still on the lead lap. He was being shown in the 15th position. He is the final car on the lead lap as he's involved in a record-tying 8th caution flag of the day. The previous cautions, 8 in 1997. We have tied the record, and we still have 66 laps to go.
Well, the Busch crews have traveled almost 8,000 miles to get here to Las Vegas. Race 4 of the Busch Series, 4 very different racetracks, very different kind of racing. And you've heard the drivers describe it. Under the hot desert sun, it's like black ice on the racetrack. So what can you do as a driver or a crew chief when you're dealing with black ice? It seems to me like not much.
The key word here is we're going to look for grip. That's grip. That's all we need. Tomorrow, they're in a bad situation. 100 more horsepower, less rear spoiler on the cars. Yeehaw, boys.
What about today, though? What about the final 64 laps of this race?
The only thing you can hope for is to have the best set of tires in a track position up front with clean air. Hopefully it'll enable you the opportunity to run up front in that clean air. You're winning the race.
Well, my question would be, with this hard tire, Tim, can they get enough rubber down on the racetrack to affect the grip for tomorrow's race when you got that extra 100 horsepower?
tell you what, you would hope so, but the guys in the garage area, they're going to be working on shocks, air pressure, whatever they can do to achieve total grip. That's the only way you're going to get out of the situation.
More edgy racing coming up. We're headed to green, and the Busch boys who grew up in this town racing against each other. Kurt, 7 years older than Kyle, battling for this checkered flag as we're back to green flag racing and back up to Jerry.
All right, thank you, Chris. The Busch boys and Carl Edwards in hot pursuit here with less than 65 laps to go at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Well, Jerry, I'm watching these restarts, and I've got my fingers crossed these guys don't spin out, because this is the most sensitive part of the run. The first couple laps, they got to get these tires warmed up enough because they're so doggone hard to get the grip.
We talk about the Busch boys up front. I know you've raced two brothers, and Michael and Kenny Walsh. Did you ever race them any differently than you raced someone else on the racetrack?
Well, I really did. You know, I raced them real hard, and I gave them a little room, and sometimes I felt that they held me up a little bit sometimes. I want to get out of the car, and I get all mad at them. They get mad at me back. Oh, we got another crash off of turn 2.
The one car in the wall, J.J. Yaley. And that
before he got me loose in, I was junk.
You heard JJ's commentary talking back to James Finch's crew there. A new record for cautions, what we did not want to see, but that was the prediction in the pre-race when our pit announcers talked to drivers and said it's going to be ugly today because we're going to have our hands full. And indeed, we now have set a record for yellow flags.
J.J. Yaley has had such a disappointing season, and he was running in the top 10 when this happened, so I know these guys are very disappointed. Had a good run going.
Here again in the corner, right side of your screen, way up across the racetrack.
You know, he said somebody got him loose on his radio, but it just didn't look like that. It looks like JJ got so high in the racetrack that he just spun. We'd have to go back in this replay again and try to get back to it one more time. I'm going to watch an earlier portion of it and see what happens here in a second, folks.
Looks like that black ice, must have hit that black ice that Greg Biffle was talking about. These cars are so unpredictable on this new surface and this new tire.
Let's watch the replay now, going further back, see if we can see. He said the 20 car. Now, there's 20 cars on top of your screen. That's Denny Hamlin. He's right behind him.
Yeah, they're coming past the start-finish line right now. And Denny's on the inside of him. Let's stay looking. Denny's down low. Let's keep on following this thing right now. Let's read it. Okay, it's way high. He's away from Denny. I don't see Denny close to him at the moment, Andy. Up in the gray. Now, look. It's really easy, the armchair quarterback from up in the booth, and say, hey, the 20 car didn't have any effect on the one car of J.J. Yaley. But sometimes, folks, these problems start earlier back into the corner, which causes them to have to go high. Dave?
Kurt Busch has showed his hand. This will be the last time they're putting on tires. They'll reverse the adjustment they made the last time to try to get the car even better for Kurt. They will have to stop one more time for a splash of gas. Right side tires. Jamie.
Guys, Kyle Busch coming in. They're going to roll the dice. They're trying to make it. You see Kurt Busch right there on the screen. Kurt Busch is going to be out and away, guys. Everything's good with the car. Mike.
A lot of debate in the Carl Edwards camp whether to come down or not. At first, they were just going to do fuel. They changed their mind. They took two tires and made a chassis adjustment.
Well, they still cannot make it, as you heard our pit announcers say, the rest of the way. But they're trying to position themselves for that final stop.
That's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to set themselves up for these last pit stops that they're going to make to try to put their car in the best position possible. And so they take this opportunity when the caution flag's out to get the car as much fuel as they can in it, get the tires they want on the car so they can just make a quick fuel stop and maybe even put just 2 tires on or no tires to try to get the track position.
In football, coaches who are the experienced ones, they play a field position game, setting it up for the fourth quarter when you've got to be able to get the points. Crew chiefs right now playing a position game in terms of field position for that final pit stop. Rusty, no tires for a couple of the lead cars, 2 tires for Carl Edwards.
That's just what I was about to say, Jerry. It looks like the strategy is all over the board. There's 4 tires, there's 2 tires, there's no tires. And things like that happen when you have a hard tire. It gives you an option to play the cards any way you want to. Normally, racetracks we go to, the tires, every time you put new tires on, it makes a big difference. Go ahead, Andy. What you got there?
Well, I was just looking at PK. You know, these guys have just got to be under so much stress trying to figure it out. We can't figure out the strategy from up here. We can see everybody. You know those guys can't figure it out.
Hey, we're sitting up here in the booth getting all wound up, and I'm seeing you looking at the screen saying, let me talk about this issue, you know. But I tell you, there's a lot of strategy going on. And you being a crew chief, I can totally understand. You're reading these cats' minds.
All right, what about the tires today? We talked about what Goodyear was trying to accomplish. Our Alan Messick is caught up with one of the Goodyear representatives.
Greg Stucker runs the sales effort for Goodyear Racing Tire. That means he's the man responsible for selling these race teams these tires. Greg, so much discussion from the race teams about bringing back a different tire from when they tested here a few weeks ago to this race now. Why was that decision made?
When we came back here for the Nextel Cup test in January, we weren't very happy with what we had seen on with some temperatures, some tire blistering on several of the cars, not all of them, but several. And we just felt like it was the right thing to do to come back with a little bit firmer setup. So we changed the left side tire, slowed the cars down a little bit, and we feel like that was just the best choice for the whole field. You know, we got to make sure that nobody has problems, and we just felt like that was the best thing to do.
With all the drivers talking about feeling like they're on black ice, when they discussed that with you during the weekend, what have you guys talked with them about?
Well, again, we got to make sure that nobody has any problems. We understand it's hard. We understand everybody's got to make some adjustments. But again, we want to make sure we make the right decision for the whole field and the racetrack. So we'll look at what happens over the weekend and then, you know, make sure if we need to make adjustments, we'll do that for when we come back.
All right, Greg, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Guys?
All right, Alan, good job. Back to green flag racing here. Jeff Burton will lead them down. Casey King, Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin, Reed Sorensen, the top 5. With less than 60 laps to go. And now the pursuit begins for Jeff Burton.
Here comes last year's winner, Casey Kane's moved up to the front of the field. He started in the back because of an engine change after qualifying 10th, but now here he is in contention.
Well, I tell you what, guys, in the back of the pack there, the 12-car Kurt Busch, he just passed 5 cars coming off of turn 2. He is flying. He passed his brother, and he hasn't been slowing down a bit. Look at him, 3 wide, coming down the front straightaway right now.
That is Kurt and Kyle Busch, 12 and 5 respectively, as they're trying to go around the outside and inside of the 27 car of Ward Burton. Kyle goes by. Ward Burton in the 27 car. Now Kurt is able to make his move by.
These guys seeing all these crashes are giving and taking a little bit more on this restart.
And it looks as though, Andy, a lot of them are trying to get the job done early, meaning that they get into turn 1 on these restarts, and man, they don't lift. If they get to the top side of the track, it looks like it's got more grip than the bottom side does.
Once again, these speeds here are some 10 miles per hour faster than they had ever run here before. The pole was 10 miles per hour faster than the track record set back in 2004. Jeff Burton in the 29 car, a 2-time winner. The number 9 car, Casey Kane, won this race a year ago, and as you said, Andy, came all the way from the back of the pack. So obviously some of these guys are able to drive this track pretty well.
Well, Casey Kane is one of the best drivers on a 1.5-mile, 2-mile racetrack that I've ever seen. And he usually is the one that's working the outside group, but we see Jeff Burton working the outside, and Casey Kane's working on the bottom.
How long do you think it's going to be before Casey Kane goes back to the top? Because, he's done it occasionally, but lately it's been on the bottom. As you see a pass back here again, Kurt Busch passed his brother. Now, if these two cats don't be careful, they're going to wreck each other. Grandma will be flat mad about that one.
Yeah, just like the Wallace boys that want to beat each other worse than want to beat anybody else in the field.
You got that right.
They're going at it door to door here back in the pack. As you ride along now with the onboard camera with the Penske Racing operation of Kurt Busch.
You saw Busch have to get out of the throttle off turn 2. You saw it wiggle. Had to get out of the throttle, and then there's Carl Edwards just shooting by on the inside.
Edwards takes the 10th spot away from Kurt Busch, moves him back to 11th. As we check in Kurt's pits with Dave Burns.
And as Kurt tries to make his way back to the front, this is the kind of run we've been expecting out of Kurt in this car. Remember, he ran very well last year, won a couple of races, and in 2005, his teammate Ryan Newman, basically with this same team, won 6 races in 9 attempts. Kurt will make probably about 6 starts this year in the car unless the team deems that he should run some more. And every time, they seem to come out looking like winners throughout the day. They'll have to pit one more time, but they won't have to take tires on their stop, which should make it very quick.
Very good point, Dave, that this car will be shared by the Penske drivers, Ryan Newman and Kurt Busch, as well as Sam Hornish, who drives in the Indy Racing League and is the reigning Indy 500 champion. Here's the 29 car goes by. That is Burton. Then comes Casey Kane, and guess who is hanging on the 3rd spot? Talk about refusing to lose, the 33 car of Tony Stewart. Jamie Little.
Well, that's right. It's amazing that he's come back. Right now, you're looking... Our camera is watching the Richard Childress Racing engine crew. They're basically on standby right now, waiting to see what Tony Stewart says. but I asked the engine crew, they said if we could have it our way, we'd heat this water we have in our pit to 200 degrees and put it in the car so we'd be good to the end. But right now, Tony Stewart hanging in there for third, guys. It's only one of 4 tracks he has never won on right here at Las Vegas.
You saw Danny Lawrence, the engine builder for Richard Childress a moment ago. He was a major part of Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s 6 championships for that race team. Well, if you're a Tony Stewart fan and you just happen to tune in, we're going to tell you what happened to Tony. He started way back in 17th spot, came through the field, took the lead, but began to overheat. He comes on the pit road, and it looks like a geyser is going off beneath the hood. They changed tires, but they also took tape off of the front grille to try to cool it down. And Tony somehow has managed to stay on the lead lap. And guys, I got to be honest, I wouldn't have believed this car would have been able to run like it has, given as hot as it seemed to be.
It sure looked like it was awful hot. I'm very surprised that they were able to get this thing cooled back down and keep it out there. And I know the RCR guys, I can tell you firsthand, they build bulletproof engines, but this is a true testimony to their engine department.
Well, Brad Doherty, you've got a different perspective from watching Tony's car come by the pit studio time after time.
Yeah, and my question was going to be to Andy, just what he basically touched on with the temperatures being pegged in the race car and the oil temperature going through the roof, the water temperature going through the roof. Is he just getting lucky right now with not having a problem with that motor?
Well, Brad, these engines are a lot more durable than they used to be, and they can stand higher temperatures. They've got pressure valves on them that run that pressure up higher than what we used to see years ago. So these engines can take a lot more abuse and heat. And as we see, this is the case here with Tony Stewart with this RCR engine still running after running extremely hot and pegging the gauges.
Well, Tony Stewart moving toward the front or trying to hold on. He is third right now in hot pursuit of Jeff Burton and Casey Kane. Laps are clicking away here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
Smack the inside wall with the left rear, Doug. Smacked it pretty good with the left rear.
Heavy impact back at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Regan Smith in the 4-car sliding sideways down the front stretch, almost saved the car, and it bounces off the inside concrete, and he gets it refired and heads away.
Let's take a look as he gets down alongside Mike Wallace. They're running awful close into Mike, gets himself sideways. Now here's the scary part, guys. On the apron, into the grass. Oh, he missed the grass. And back, driver's side wall. We were looking out the window, guys, watched them go driver's side at that wall. Very concerned that was going to be a hard side driver impact. Got very lucky right there. You see him and Mike get together. It causes them to get sideways. Just takes a little bit, Andy. These tires are real hard. No grip out there, guys.
Yeah, just no give and take with these guys. We have one guy that was on the lead lap, one lap down, and it looked like a little impatience.
All right, now caution for the 10th time. Now, you got to wonder as you see Regan coming down pit road, strategy-wise, we have 45 laps to go to the checkered flag. How many of these guys will consider rolling the dice and coming in and gambling on making possibly this final fuel stop?
Well, you'll see some of the guys maybe gamble on this one. This is just outside most of their windows on fuel, but if they get cautions, they may be able to stretch it. We see them coming in.
Here's a bunch of gamblers coming down pit road here at Las Vegas. The 29 of Burton, the 9 of Casey King, Tony Stewart, Danny Hamlin, Kyle Busch. As we head down to Alan Bestwick.
Shane Huffman has moved his way up to 6th position in the race. A track bar adjustment on the car. Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the team owner, on the box, giving instructions to his driver, Dave.
2 right side tires for Jeff Burton. No chassis adjustments. They will need about 7 caution laps before this race is over to extend their fuel mileage to make it to the end. Mike.
Casey Kane hoping to win consecutive races here in Las Vegas, saying to his crew, make sure it is full. Hoping to go the distance from here. A 4-tire change for Casey Kane. He feels pretty good about his race car right now, guys.
Well, Mike, Tony Stewart came in 4 tires and fuel. They believe they will have to stop, though, to top off toward the end. But so far, nothing wrong with the car, according to Tony Stewart.
And with this caution flag, the free pass goes to a very good car in Kevin Harvick, the 21 car, able to get back on the lead lap. I don't know about you guys, but if I see Kevin Harvick back on the lead lap, that's going to concern me because he can drive it as well as anyone in that 21 car here in the final 44 laps. There's Kevin Harvick, our Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass car, so he is back on the lead lap. 16 cars on the lead lap. Harvick is 16th, but they are chasing the 9 car right now for Casey Kane. Should be a shootout in Las Vegas. Back in just a moment. And we welcome you back to the Samstown 300 NASCAR Busch Series event here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And next week we head to Atlanta Motor Speedway as NASCAR on ESPN on ABC Saturday, March 17th, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Our live flag-to-flag coverage from that mile-and-a-half high-banked oval in Hampton, Georgia, just southeast of Atlanta. Well, Kyle Busch, one of the major factors here this afternoon, has led so many laps. He is a local boy from Las Vegas who grew up in the desert, but has now a love of the water.
I'm Kyle Busch. Well, off the track, I love going out to the ocean and ride some waves, do some surfing. I actually learned this past December. Got up my first time and couldn't stop. Did it for the next 3 hours. Started off in Waikiki of Hawaii, and then we went up to North Shore there following. But the physical demands that surfing takes on the body is paddling out there. So your shoulders get really, really tired, and your back and your pecs and stuff like that. The next day was okay. It was the 2 and the 3 days after that were pretty sore. So I wasn't up for surfing anymore after that. And it's definitely something that I would recommend to try for anybody, because it's just, you know, it's cool to be able to go out and kind of do that thing.
Very talented young man who can do it all. And there's a look at Kyle Busch, 21 years of age, grew up here in Las Vegas, raced just off of turn 2 at a little 3/8 mile dirt and asphalt combination track. Rookie of the Year in 2005 in the Nextel Cup, and of course also a Busch Series Rookie of the Year. Today he has led 5 times for 46 laps after starting way back in the 18th position.
I tell you what, these two guys, Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch, they could get in a fight about who's the best driver, couldn't they? One day one wins, the other day the other one wins. It's back and forth all the time.
16 cars being shown on the lead lap as we have just 41 laps to go. There's the 25, our in-race reporter.
We can't fix it. Motor, they're going to get ready to black flag us. Come on in, get behind the wall.
Talking about the smoke trailing from beneath his car, and NASCAR has indeed waved the black flag to bring him on the pit road to fix this thing before the problems create more problems for other drivers.
Yeah, we heard his crew chief just said, bring it on in. This terminal, they're just going to bring him back behind the wall and call it a day.
Well, it looks like I've got 3 cars a lap down right now. Ward Burton, Mike Wallace, and showing J.J. Yellow, but J.J. had a lot of damage on that car to be up that far.
Give a call to David Stremme, the 22 car, as he is behind this bunch, riding along with Steve Wallace in the Wise Trade Dodge. He is also trying to get back in front of the leader to get one of those laps back as the green flag waves, and Kyle Busch will lead him down. Steve Wallace trying to follow Kyle Busch. This is a great way, Andy, for a young driver to go to school on a veteran and learn something about this racetrack.
Yeah, the best thing you can do right here is just try to fall in line and try to keep up with Kyle Busch. That's been hard. Not a whole lot of guys have been able to do that today, but if he could keep up with Kyle Busch, he can watch the line he's running and maybe learn a few things.
Well, the best thing you can do to get seat time is just get more seat time. Stay on the racetrack, keep following some of the best guys out there, and see the lines they do around the racetrack. Steve's learned a lot today. He's been really, really fast. But that one bad set of tires that got him a lap down, he's trying desperately to get it back right now.
We've kind of set ourselves up here. These guys pitted with about 45 laps to go, and that's just outside most of these guys' fuel windows. So they're going to have to count on getting some caution laps, which the way it's been going today, they're probably going to get them. But if they have enough caution laps, they may be able to extend that range. And it's going to be interesting to see who can make it, who can't, who's going to have to pit. It's really unpredictable right now who can do all that.
It reminds me of a road race, where in the road races you get so many caution flags late in the race, and these guys have had so many cautions that were unpredictable or predictable that they say, hey, look, let's keep our guy out there. We're going to get more cautions. We can probably make it to the end. 38 laps, Andy, is what they've been running on fuel. 38 to go right now.
All right, guys, keep an eye. Some pretty good cars making their way toward the front. The 33 is Stewart. The 77, that is Bobby Labonte, the former series champion, as we check in Bobby's pits with Alan.
Well, they took no tires on that last pit stop, Doc. Fuel only. And you can see maybe the lack of fresh tires costing Bobby because he restarted third. He's already been shuffled back about 4 spots on the restart. His crew chief, Wally Rogers, says 2 to 3 laps short of the finish on fuel for now. Dave?
Alan, that yellow 12 car in the picture, Kurt Busch, the pit strategy didn't work out quite as they had hoped. Remember, they pitted for right side tires in the last stop. They didn't want to have to put on tires this time. They did put on 2 right side tires because, according to crew chief Matt Gimbel, the right sides they had on were affecting their performance. Not good. So they changed them anyway. They didn't get the track position back that they wanted. He'll have to race his way back to the front.
Sometimes, you know, your best laid strategies go away on you because you try to plan for things and it don't work out. The race just changes. You get a set of tires that the car doesn't like, you got to come back in and change them. So even when you have the best strategy in the world, sometimes it doesn't work out.
Well, especially today. I mean, strategy is everything in the world, but because they have the options. They can do the 4 tires, the 2 tires, or no tires. And if I got a set of tires right now late in this run that are really working good and sticking good, Andy, I got to believe I can stay with them. And if they do have to put fuel in this thing, just a little shot of fuel to make it to the end. As far as putting 4 tires on like we normally see, these guys haven't had to do that.
Now take a look at the 29 car. That is Jeff Burton. Remember what happened at the very top of this show. We told you that Jeff Burton, this is the car that he led so many laps at California, but the car faded late in the day. The crew told us they're going to save their best set of tires for the final stop and see if Burton can somehow make up for that fade at California. And Andy, he's coming pretty quickly.
Well, it's showtime. We'll see if those tires are going to get it done for him.
That fade in California, I can tell you right now, Jerry, he just wants to win right now, man. He's like, let me have that big trophy at this new Las Vegas track.
Pretty good battle for 7th spot. Bobby Labonte, despite the fact, as Alvin told you, he did not take tires, and Bobby doing a heck of a job up on the high side, trying to go back around the 9 car of Casey Kane.
The good thing we're seeing right now is that this is a 2-lane track. A lot of these new race tracks are single file right on the bottom. These guys are able to run on the bottom, the middle, and the top. I think that's going to really be good for the future of this track.
Let's update Casey Kane in his pits.
Well, Jerry, Casey Kane cannot really afford to battle too hard in this particular situation. Crew Chief Mike Shipley came over the radio right before the restart and gave him very specific instructions. Be conservative, save fuel, and everything will be all right. They pitted on lap 155. They're right on the cusp of their window.
Casey Kane in the 9 car. He is the pole sitter for the Nextel Cup event, and one of the big stories circulating in the garage area. We know what happened in Daytona with Jack Roush and the Fenway group forming Roush Fenway Racing. We are hearing that Ray Evernham may be looking for some investors as well.
Yeah, we heard some of that down in the garage area. I talked to Ray earlier yesterday, and I heard he was talking to somebody else about investors, kind of like what we saw with Roush and Fenway Racing. And I guess these guys are just trying to raise more capital to be stronger, be able to do more things, and hire more people, and spend the money on R&D and get better. And I'm sure Ray's looking at that.
Well, Jack Roush is ahead of the curve, and now Ray Evernham, who's always been ahead of the curve in far as thinking ahead, trying to maybe get a little more money. And is it that expensive to be able to do what they're trying to do with R&D wise?
Jerry, the cost of racing nowadays is just almost out of control. It's so high, it's incredible. And NASCAR's they're working their brains out, trying to bring the cost of racing back down. With the car tomorrow coming on right now, I really believe in the long run that's going to be a savior. But until that car gets there, they got to try to control this.
Yeah, the car tomorrow will debut at Bristol, and a lot of owners are thrilled about the fact that's going to save them some money. Pretty good battle for 5th spot here. The 22, that is Strimmy. The 20 of Denny Hamlin.
Boy, I tell you, they were toying around, Andy, with that dreaded arrow loose right there, side by side, going in that corner.
Yeah, they're racing hard right here. The 22 car of David Strimmy, he qualified 2nd, and he's been up front all day, but these pit strategies have had him mixed up back in the middle of the field, and he's trying to get back up where he needs to be for the end of the race. Got a good, strong car, and he wants to just get up there where he can race for the win.
Yeah, David Strimmy, who missed the opening race at Daytona. It was a major point of frustration for this race team owned by Armando Fitz, but they have roared back here with a fabulous qualifying effort, not only here on Saturday, but Strimmy starts outside of row 1 on Sunday. Well, laps are clicking down. We are inside of 30 laps away from the checkered flag here at Las Vegas. Back with the final laps after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Back at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, 23 laps to go here. As you take a look at Kyle Busch, and how about brothers finishing 1-2 in the NASCAR Busch Series history? You go back to 1993 at the half mile at Myrtle Beach. Jeff and Ward Burton, 2000 Pike Peak, the Greens boys out of Owensboro, Kentucky. And by the way, speaking of Burton, the brothers, they finished 1-2 here in the Nextel Cup Series event. Well, let's bring you up to speed on what's happening with the cars up front. Let's start with Jamie Little.
Well, Kyle Busch in the number 5 car continuing to lead, dominating here today. Before this race, his best finish in Las Vegas was 11th. He's never won in front of his hometown crowd. Right now, the car is great. They are going to be a few laps short, and they're going to wait and see what everybody else does when they decide if they're going to take tires or not. Dave.
Jeff Burton has won in front of this crowd 2 times, in fact, in the Busch Series. Again, they need some caution laps to extend that fuel mileage before this race is over. This car that was crashed in practice, still very, very good and challenging for the win. The 12 car of Kurt Busch behind him, they have told Kurt that he is good on fuel. Now, they took on 2 right sides last time for performance reasons, and it has picked that car up much better this time. Fewer complaints from Kurt this time during this run, but that flapping bodywork on the left side may be hindering him just a little. Jamie?
Well, Tony Stewart in that 33 continuing to surprise everybody, including his team. He says that car is just smooth and working, and he is reeling in those other cars. He hopes to go to the front. Like I said, he's never won here in Las Vegas. And the team, well, they just are holding on for a win because, like you guys said, he's not going for points here. Right behind him is David Stremme in the 22. This is the best performance we've seen by David so far this year. He started second. He said he just wanted to learn a lot today. They didn't know what to expect. So far, things are panning out in that Fitz Racing number 22. Behind him, Denny Hamlin. Haven't talked about him much today, but he has been hovering in the top 5. The 20 of Hamlin, they are going to be a couple laps short on fuel. They will need to come in. The car pretty tight right now. He's been battling some different conditions.
Because of a blown motor and a crash during practice yesterday, Casey Kane got only 12 laps of practice, but it hasn't hurt him. He's running inside the top 10, 7th right now. The big concern for Kane, fuel mileage. Trouble on the racetrack.
Well, caution number 11 coming out. We are being told there is debris. We've seen some flapping sheet metal and parts and pieces off some of these cars, and now NASCAR has waved the yellow flag, and the pace car will pull out up in front of the 5 car and try to get the field slowed down to 45 miles an hour. Guys, 18 laps to go. There's some of the debris or some of the sheet metal that's peeled away from the left side of the Dodge of Kurt Busch.
That's really not going to hurt the car. Most of their downforce is made coming on the right-hand side of these cars, getting to the rear spoiler. That's just a hindrance, probably just something for us to talk about. I don't really believe the performance of that's going to be much at all.
It'd be kind of hard to fix, too, because you need to move that back in position and probably weld it to the rocker panel to make it stay. It'd be hard to make it stay in place even if they did fix it.
Yeah, especially as good as he's been running throughout the day, Andy, to go and take the time to fix that. They get him way in the back of the pack. I just think I'd have to stay out with that one.
Okay, we're getting ready to find out who really is a gambler. If somebody tries to stay out here and gamble on getting a few more caution flags and keep this track position.
There's a safety worker picking up some of the debris on the racetrack. Now, as they come down behind the pace car, Kyle Busch stays on the track, but others decide to pull on the pit road. Some of the cars back in the pack. Here's the 70 of Justin Dirks. Kyle Krisaloff is in. The 34 of Jeff Green. There's a 6 of David Reagan. Reed Sorensen had a great qualifying effort. Driving for Chip Ganassi, brings his car down pit road.
It's like almost all the guys on the lead lap staying out on the racetrack and gambling on being able to make it on fuel and just missing this opportunity to get fuel 17 laps to go.
Well, Andy, what they got to do is they just got to see what's going to happen. If they get to 4 or 5 laps to go and they haven't had the caution flags they needed, staying out could really kill these guys right now.
All right, the 16 cars on the lead lap have opted to stay on the racetrack, and that means everyone will stay in line behind Kyle Busch, Jeff Burton, Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, and David Stremme. Back with the finish of ESPN on ABC.
The The Busch brothers hoping to break through here in Las Vegas, and they've led 113 of 184 laps today. Right now, let's go to our ESPN Chevrolet cutaway car, and here's Tim Brewer. Tim?
Hey, guys, we've had a record number of caution flags today. A lot of the things, high-impact crashes. You know, we've got the roll cage here to protect the driver, you know, from the outside impact. What we've got here, we've got the Hans device hooked to the helmet right here. Shoulder harnesses down over the Hans device, keep it affixed here. Head can't go forward. This is our prized possession right here, the race car driver. His safety is the most important thing about the race here today.
All right, thank you very much, Tim. Indeed, we have seen some hard impacts, and Rusty, the safety innovations that have taken place over the last just handful of years have been huge in terms of being able to keep the driver intact inside a car with these kind of deceleration.
Oh, a lot of really cool safety devices. Tim was just showing the helmet of the driver. On the sides of it, they had really cool side supports where the driver's head cannot get left or right, which they hit driver's side first against the wall, really saves the driver. One of the #1 innovations, though, Jerry, this soft wall technology. It's really helped the drivers a lot. So you got the good seat inside, and you got the soft wall.
Definitely the combination of the two has made racing a lot safer than the last 5 or 6 years.
Safer barrier, soft wall, seat technology. See the safer barrier that absorbs the impact. Give NASCAR a call. What a job they have done to make these tracks and drivers much safer. Well, can Kyle Busch hang on for the final 15 laps?
Green flag, green flag. Green.
Kyle Busch has never won at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Neither has older brother Kurt. But the car right behind him, the 29 car of Jeff Burton, is a 2-time winner here.
Well, I tell you, the guy to not forget about is Tony Stewart. He's in clean air, and he's reeling the 12 car of Kurt Busch in right now. You know, we wrote him off earlier saying, hey, that engine's going to blow up. Somehow that baby has held on, and Tony's doing a fantastic job out there driving the wheels off that thing. We got 14 laps to go.
Jeff Burton was catching Kyle Busch before this caution came out. He had a little faster car, and he's putting the pressure on him right here.
Ooh, and you see the 29 of Jeff Burton right on the tail of Kyle Busch, got him loose, pulled inside to make that pass. Now, look, I wouldn't doubt if it happens again that the Kyle Busch can get him loose the next corner. Let's take a look at this. Right underneath. Look at that.
That away. Settle in, drive away from me. He's trying to come back inside on you now. Inside.
Guys, that's how you do it. You get under his tail, make him loose, pass him back, and look what happened. Tony Stewart's up on his tail now.
Not seeing any give and take right now. It's time to go. It's 12 laps to go, and these guys are going to race hard. They're not going to give and take.
For those of you just joining us, expecting to see World News tonight, we will have that coming up at the conclusion of our live NASCAR Busch Series coverage from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. What a barn burner of a finish here. 12 laps to go. The 29 car of Jeff Burton has made the pass for the lead. Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, a couple of brothers who grew up in Las Vegas in second and third. Tony Stewart pedaling his way toward the front. Whoa, trouble, and it is Casey King.
Wreck in two. Caution is out. Caution's out.
And other cars sliding up across the racetrack are involved. Casey King, the 41 of Reed Sorensen, is involved.
Oh, that's a hard impact on the front of Reed Sorensen's car. That's a heavy impact on the very front, head on.
Caution coming out for the 12th time, and that's last year's winner here, Casey Kane. He's also the pole sitter for the Sunday afternoon NASCAR Nextel Cup Series event. We talked at the beginning of the show about the risks versus the reward of running on Saturday and then running on Sunday. Heavy impact for a couple of these drivers. We have 26 drivers in this race today who will also attempt to run the Nextel Cup event on Sunday.
Now, you talk about risk reward. He just loses. This is a classic case of just spinning out again. Here's a driver who's got a lot of talent, one of the best drivers in all of NASCAR, and it just proves that they can lose the car also. It's just not the rookies. And if you see all this carnage coming by, Andy, what's your take? take on this risk reward? I'm not going to give up on you, man. I want to know what you're thinking as a past car owner.
Well, I talked to Casey Kane in the garage. He said he just can't feel, he can't tell where the edge is. And if I'm Ray Evernham, you know, golly, I just got to think, man, I don't want to get my driver hurt out here in a Busch race. But it looks like he'll be okay. But the heavy impact was on Reed Sorensen behind him. Man, what a wreck.
Yeah, there's the 41 of Sorensen coming across, and a couple of cars doing a nice job just to avoid hitting Sorensen in the passenger side door. Here's Mike Wallace's view.
Follow, clear.
It was just a chain reaction. When Casey Kane spun out, the rest of the guys were trying to slow down and got into each other and got loose and spun and hit the wall, and then everybody just tries to avoid.
Well, if you're ever going to hit the wall, backing it in against a soft wall, that's the best way to do it. But when you see these cars coming at your door as you're parked in the middle of the racetrack, that's a dangerous part.
All right, what NASCAR is going to do now is they are parking the cars, and here's a great sight. Reed Sorensen, who hit the wall, literally hit the wall head on. In fact, the back tires and wheels came up off the ground, but NASCAR is now parking these cars up between turns 3 and 4 so they can get the debris cleaned up on the racetrack. And this is something I applaud NASCAR for. They don't want these guys running over there through all kinds of pieces of sheet metal and sharp objects on the track and cutting tires and having that impact the finish of this race.
And with just 10 laps to go, they don't want to run all the laps out under caution. They want to have a nice race to the finish and give the fans what they paid to see, and that's a good race. And by not running all these laps under caution, they're going to save those laps for racing.
Well, the finish of the NASCAR Busch Series event coming your way. 10 laps to go here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We'll be back with more NASCAR Busch Series action after this from our ABC stations.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Busch Series on ABC. Brought to you by Holiday Inn Racing. Always stay under green. And DirecTV. Ride the shotgun on race day with NASCAR Hot Pass. Only on DirecTV.
We welcome you back to the Las Vegas Speedway. The cars are stopped. They clear the debris off following that accident down there. Casey Kane, who was deeply involved in it, it started as he spun out, and he's with Alan. Remember, now he's the pole sitter tomorrow, so let's go to Alan.
And Casey told me a minute ago, Brent, that he is okay. Casey, what happened out there?
Just screwed up. It's slippery the whole race, and I was super loose and just drove over my head and spun out there at the end trying to race Carl and whoever else was out there. Just bad move, you know, whisk and doublemint. There's a lot of good people there behind us, and it was just stupid to crash that late in the race when my car was out of control all day anyways.
Casey, you start on the pole for tomorrow's race. People talk about learning things on Saturday to use on Sunday's race. From your experiences today, what are you going to think about starting tomorrow's race?
You just got to take it easy. I mean, that's all there is to it. This track is fast. There's tons of grip in the track and no grip in the tires, and you're just sitting out there sliding around. It's like you're trying to crash every single lap. You're doing all you can not to. So it's too bad, you know. But that's how it's going to be tomorrow too. And we just got to get through the race. We just have to be smart to, you know, get the laps in and get some points.
Thanks for the time, Casey. Brent?
Alan, while we have a moment before we restart, we would like to pass along our condolences to the family of Andy Sedaris. On Wednesday night, Andy, who was a long-time director at ABC Sports, passed away at the age of 76. All of you are very familiar with Andy's work. Wide World of Sports with Roone Arledge in the old days, college football. Andy Sedaris pioneered many of the things that we now see today on television, and our condolences go to his wife Arlene and his 2 lovely daughters.
Zach, are you looking at Susan?
I want to remind everybody that's still ahead of us now, ABC's World News or your local news, except, of course, out here on the Pacific Network, where it's only 10 minutes past 3 in the afternoon. Now, folks, when you think back to the days of Roone Arledge and Wide World of Sports, you all remember Demolition Derby? Remember that on Saturday afternoon when they used to show it? We've had a little bit of a Demolition Derby here this afternoon in Las Vegas. Now, we have a number of the drivers who have been involved in incidents who are going to post tomorrow in the Cup Series. Remember, Rusty Walsh's been talking all afternoon about risk, reward. Now, Kyle Busch is one of those. He's trying to win here. He'll go tomorrow. Jamie Little standing by with his crew chief. Jamie?
That's right, Alan Gustafson, actually the crew chief for Kyle Busch for tomorrow as well, and he's actually kept himself clean, keep that nose clean. Alan, earlier on, we heard that there was maybe an issue with Kyle. What happened, and is it affecting you guys right now?
Yeah, the Delphi Chevys ran well. I guess about 70 laps into the race, the engine changed tone a little bit and got a little bit of a miss. Switch ignition boxes, it seemed to get a little bit better, but I don't think we're at 100%. You know, the motor seems to be about 90%. He struggles a little bit on restarts, just enough to give that 29 a shot at us there. So we'll cool these tires off, these good years off, and see if we can't go get that 29.
10 laps to go. What are we going to see on this restart?
Hopefully the 5 past the 29. That's what I'd like to see. Kyle's done a well of a job. These guys have done a great job in the pits all day. They really deserve to win this race, so I hope we can get it done.
All right, Kyle Busch, guys, trying to get his first win here in Las Vegas. Dave?
Well, Jamie, Jeff Burton is in the preferred position right now. Crew chief Pat Smith saw that pass, which was nice. But I got to ask you, did you give him the best 2 right side tires you had on that last stop?
Absolutely. Still a little freer than we want to be right now, but we'll kick back and enjoy it, see what happens here. It's what everyone comes to see. Holiday and Chevrolet's been really fast at moments today. It's been evil at moments today, but looks like it's pretty fast right now. So
yeah, and even when it's been evil, Pat, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, we've carried good speed all day. It's just Jeff's had his hands full there, but that's why they say the drivers make the big bucks. So we'll see how they do.
I think Pat's doing pretty well today, too, as well. Again, 2 right side tires on the last stop, Jerry, and they hope that's good enough for this win today.
Andy, you're the crew chief for these guys, Jeff Burton and Kyle Busch. Handicap, if you would, who's got the better cars and who's got what for the final laps?
Well, I like Jeff Burton's car. His car works really well on the high side of the racetrack, and he was a little faster this last segment than Kyle Busch. I like Jeff Burton.
Jeff Burton has led 33 of the laps today, and he is a 22-time winner in the NASCAR Busch Series. Obviously has the experience in terms of upper hand and experience in racing. He's had 263 starts, whereas Kyle Busch right behind him has less than 100 starts and 7 victories, but never won here at his native Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Well, I tell you, Jerry, if I was a betting guy, and I'm not too much of a betting guy, I lose at everything I do when it comes to coming to Vegas. Jeff, the only thing he's got in front of him is clean air to create downforce in the car, to make that car grip better through the corners. He's definitely got an advantage on the 5-car Kyle Busch.
We see how these cars park on the racetrack. It kind of looks funny the way they sit there. What they're doing there is trying to get their car sitting on the hill, using that banking, and shut the engine off, and they want to make sure it's going to start back. So they have that banking that they can rely on. They can just roll the car down, put it in gear, and pop the clutch and crank it up. That's why they park on these angles up on top of the banking.
Well, we got 10 laps of NASCAR adventure yet to come here at Las Vegas, but television's greatest adventure continues, an all-new episode of Lost. Tensions begin to mount between 2 castaways, Saeed and Locke, and Claire becomes suspicious of Charlie's peculiar behavior. That's coming up this Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 Central, only on ABC. Well, they are going to refire the engines as Kurt Busch now will put it down into first gear and begin to pull away. Mike Wallace, the Geico Chevy. Likewise, there is our points leader, Carl Edwards, and the Dish Network Ford. There, of course, the 99 car. David Rudiman, a Toyota for Michael Waltrip. Our in-race reporter, the 25 car, the freecreditreport.com machine of David Gilliland. The Wise Trade Dodge for the 19-year-old Stephen Wallace, second-generation driver. And here's David Rudiman. Nice of you, Dave, to reach over and clean the lens for us there. These guys are full-service drivers, aren't they?
They're always thinking about their sponsors. Let's get this camera nice and clean so they can see this logo up here. That's pretty good. You got to hand it to David for doing that.
I think Michael Waltrip taught him well, so make sure you get that camera nice and clean so you can see all those logos inside the car. Well, we have 10 laps to go, and there's David Rudiman, who is a third-generation driver. Speaking of second-generation, Wallace is in the field. His dad and granddad, legendary open-wheeled NASCAR modified division drivers years ago.
All right, 10 laps to go. You know, if I'm Kyle Busch and I'm in second spot, I'm going to get these tires cleaned off, make sure all the debris is off them so I can get a really good restart, because he's going to have to get a good restart to get past Jeff Burton. Then again, he's got to hold his own brother off, who's running third right now. That's going to be another tough guy to hold back.
Yeah, and right now they've had enough cautions to probably feel good about their fuel and not worry about it running out. So should just see a good dash to the finish.
So Andy, let me ask you this question. They're low on fuel right now. They're on the banking, and the pickup on these fuel cells is on the right-hand side. As a crew chief, are you real nervous that he might run out?
Probably at 9 laps to go. There's probably enough fuel in there. I'd say if he happened to come across the radio and say it sputtered or it looks like it's run out of gas, I'd say get down on the flat of the racetrack and set up in the banking so it would pick the fuel up in the right rear corner.
So another problem, you get down the flat of the racetrack, that's where the debris at, where you can blow a tire out, right?
Well, you just got to take that chance if you run out of gas.
And guys, we've also seen cars jump inside of other cars on a restart and take the side bite away, which ends up with both cars in the wall. We've had that happen earlier in the afternoon.
Oh boy, Jerry, you hit the nail on the head there. That's one of the most important things in this restart, because these guys have got to get aggressive right now. They really got to get up in the seat, and they really got to fire these babies up. And they're going to dump them down in there side by side. You know they are. And that's where they're going to get loose.
And we pounded that soft wall all day long. These guys have wore it out. I don't know if they're finished doing that. I'll tell you, it's going to be exciting these last few laps.
All right, who's the most aggressive guy in the top 5 right now? Who's the guy you think will climb up on the wheel here in these final laps and try to steal this win?
Well, I think it's going to be Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is the guy. He can go out there. He can get just a little bit extra. I know that Jeff Burton wants to win this race, but boy, I'll tell you what, if I look back and saw Kyle Busch in my mirror, I'd get a little worried.
What about Tony Stewart? He's going to be back there pounding his chest saying, hey, look at me. What about me? You know I'm aggressive. So I wouldn't... I'd be taking a look at that 33 also. We know this guy gets up in the wheel.
Tony Stewart, all the way from 17th starting spot, took the lead on lap 75, have an overheating problem, and now has been able to hang on and has this car in 4th position as we head back down into our pit studio.
All right, Jerry, thanks. It'll be 8 laps to go when they come past the start-finish line. So you guys have talked about fuel calculations and pit strategy. What did that red flag parking the cars have to do with the calculations and who's got enough fuel left?
Keep in mind, you got a 13-gallon fuel cell. It's a smaller box. It's deeper in fuel. I don't think you're going to have an issue with the fuel.
Everybody's going to have enough to make the...
Yeah, I agree with him. I think the fuel is a non-issue right now. But, boy, Jeff Burton is awful fast. He's had a loose race car all day, and he drives a great loose race car real fast.
You heard his crew chief said he's been free. Sometimes being free isn't necessarily a good thing when you're behind the wheel of the car. Great finish, though, with the way this is setting up after kind of an ugly race. Burton has won this race twice, the only 2-time winner, trying to hold off the Busch brothers, and Tony Stewart, after all his troubles, lurking right there. And so is Harvick back on the lead lap, too.
There's a lot of players with 10 laps to go.
Remember, I picked Busch. Let's watch this thing.
All right. Sounds like the guys in the booth like Burton's position right now. Jerry?
And what were the famous line with Harry Hogg in Days of Thunder when he told Tom Cruise, who was cold trickle, said, you know what, loose is fast?
And on the edge of out of control.
Yeah, that's what he needs to remember. On the edge of out of control. That's where they have been most of the afternoon. We have set a record here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, an unenviable record for yellow flags and caution laps. We have also tied the record for the most different leaders with 12 different drivers showing their way to the front, 21 lead changes. And I think this is going to be very interesting here in the final 7 laps as to who will win it today.
Well, right now they better cinch them down and get ready, because they got 8 laps to go. These guys got to get up on the wheel, because if they're going to win this inaugural race at this brand new design racetrack, they got to get ready right now.
29 car of Jeff Burton trying to get his 3rd win here. Kyle Busch trying to win for the first time at his home racetrack. Burton is very high on the racetrack, opens the door for Kyle Busch off of turn 2, and here comes Busch on the inside.
Jeff Burton's car, he likes it up on the outside. That's where he's at.
And Kyle Busch makes the pass complete and will take the lead as they come by with 6 laps to go.
And it was all about who had the most nerve in that restart. It looks like Kyle Busch had it right there, but Burton on the top side of the track with a lot of run. Oh, he's up in the wall a little bit. A lot of debris flying.
All that speedy drive from that wreck with Casey Canes has got all up next to the wall there, and he slipped up in that speedy drive and got loose.
Well, that slip could possibly cost Jeff Burton 2nd position, because the yellow car of Kurt Busch and the 33 behind him.
Here, 5 to go. 5-7. 5 to go, bud. 5 to go.
So Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart are both trying to march up toward the 29.
And right now, Tony Stewart, he's the one that's got the race going on in the bottom. getting right up alongside of Kurt Busch. And this is where you could get yourself in trouble, like we talked all day long. If they go in side by side and lose that aerodynamic downforce, they could spin. While that's going on, though, that 5 car is gone.
Whoa! The 29 car right in front of this battle here gets sideways, and what a save. And as the 33 car makes the pass, there goes the 29 by of Jeff Burton, and these guys are hanging on for dear life.
They're on the wheel. I'll tell you, this is incredible how hard these guys are driving.
And you can tell you saw a lot of cars, or 29 car Jeff Burton, go down on the apron and fly back up on the racetrack using all the track they can.
Hey, watch this save by Jeff Burton a moment ago in the turn coming out. Out of turn 4, watch the back of the 29.
Man, that was unbelievable. That was all but gone. With this hard a tire, for him to hold on to that and still hold Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart behind him, man, well of a job. You can tell they're on the wheel. They're going crazy right now.
He's still not giving up. He's got 3 laps to go, and he's still trying to run down Kyle Busch.
Left side of your screen, the 5 car is the 21-year-old Kyle Busch, who grew up racing about 200 yards from where this track now stands. Has never won a Busch Series event here at his native Las Vegas. Jeff Burton, the 29 car, is less than a second back.
2 to go by 5 right now.
And it's got to be a great feeling if this kid wins this race here at Las Vegas.
Jeff Burton beat Kyle Busch by 0.3 of a second.
Boy, Burton has cut the margin in half in a lap and a half.
Jerry, he is outrunning Kyle Busch 0.3, like Andy said. He's reeling him in big time.
He's going to get there.
Look at him flying on the top of that racetrack.
The 29 car, Jeff Burton, was frustrated about what happened at California. His car faded in the final laps. He said, this will not happen to me today. It is 4 car lengths. It is 3 car lengths. As the white flag waves, they have 1 lap. Can Jeff Burton get there?
Well, he's not fading now. Jeff Burton is right there.
It's a car length. It's a half a car length.
He's making his ground on the top side of the racetrack, but sees he goes to the top. Wide open on the top of the track. It's going to be a drag race right to the end.
Here goes Burton on the high side. Busch makes the block out of turn 4. Burton squeezes high. They are door to door.
Jeff Burton! Good job! Woo-hoo!
Jeff Burton takes the win, and Kyle Busch slams the wall on the outside.
Unbelievable. You saw the 29 of Jeff Burton. Let's see if he's okay.
Great job for Jeff Burton. What a finish.
What an unbelievable effort. Jeff Burton.
On the new tires, they just wasn't as good. I had to have some heat in the tires.
Jeff Burton refused to lose. He refused to give up on a very loose race car, and that is one very angry driver climbing out in Kurt Busch with a celebration down in the pits.
That's one happy crew.
He's angry because he's frustrated. He had a good car, but there's nothing he could have done. He did a great job throughout the day. Jeff Burton just had that run. He did a great job of working the top side.
Listen to this crowd on their feet. A record crowd of over 105,000 as Jeff Burton comes down and salutes the crowd.
And he's coming to talk to Kyle Busch, and Kyle is already gone. He's looking at an empty seat there right now. Burton did a great job on that top side. What a comeback for the 29 of Jeff Burton.
Good score.
How about that for sportsmanship? Instead of going to victory lane, Jeff Burton went straight to Kyle Busch to make sure he was okay and to say, hey, guys, it was all racing.
That's what it's all about right there. They just run it as hard as they could to the finish. Great sportsmanship at the end.
Folks, you just saw one of the most exciting finishes in Busch Grand National Racing, and you witnessed it live on ABC.
39-year-old Jeff Burton heads to victory lane for the 3rd time in his career as a winner with a remarkable effort. A car that was almost out of control with 2 laps to go somehow makes the pass within 200 yards of the start-finish line. Let's go down to Mike Massaro.
Doc, obviously an awfully disappointed Kyle Busch. What happened on that final lap?
I was just too tight. I couldn't hold the bottom, couldn't hold the top, couldn't hold him off. So he beat me fair and square. He got a run on me on the top side. I tried blocking it, but I just didn't get high enough in order to squeeze him in the fence. But congratulations to those guys. They had a better car definitely at the end.
Doc, a very disappointed Kyle Busch.
Well, you saw a lot of sportsmanship in the young man. You know how much he wanted to win here in his hometown. You know how much he's always wanted to win here at the big super speedway. And yet he turns and says he had a better car. I mean, how much more honest could he be?
Well, he was very honest. You can see the frustration. You can see the frustration in his face.
Let's look at this finish one more time. Final lap.
On the outside, Jeff Burton up in the oil dry where it's real slick, but he's got that momentum right now. You see Kyle Busch go up, give him a little whack, try to hold it back, but he couldn't do it. And to come across the line backwards, crashed, and still finish second, what an unbelievable run. But this reminds me of the Turn 4 exit at Atlanta Motor Speedway, where so many guys have won just by a little bit at the line.
Jeff Burton's 23rd NASCAR Busch Series win. Wow, Jeff Burton, what an effort. He has now made his way all the way down to the fan zone in Victory Lane. Let's go down to Dave Burns.
And Jeff Burton continuing to get congratulations from those around him. Wife Kim has already been in to give him a congratulatory kiss. This would be the congratulatory beer, Busch beer, of course. And Jeff Burton getting a lot of high fives, high tens. Jeff, take us through that final lap.
Well, he passed me. I ran wide open all the way through 1 and 2, and he just turned left and went by me. And I'm like, God, now what are we going to do? And we were better on old tires, and we just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And I saw he was having trouble in 3 and 4, and I knew there was only one choice, and that was go higher than him. But I knew he was going to be high, so I figured, what the hell? We'd stick it in there and see what happened. And he did exactly what he should have done. Haiti got his car tore up. He's a great race car driver, and that was a lot of fun.
Jeff Burton victorious. Disappointment in California. Happiness here today. Jerry?
All right. For our entire crew of ESPN on ABC, Andy Petrie, Rusty Wallace, and our entire crew, what an effort you have just witnessed for 39-year-old Jeff Burton, who wins the 2005 NASCAR Busch Series race at Las Vegas. For our entire race team, I'm Jerry Punch saying so long. Don't forget tomorrow night on ABC, Sunday NBA featuring Allen Iverson, Carmelo Anthony, and the Nuggets taking on the Kings in Sacramento. Coverage begins at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, except on the West Coast, stay tuned for ABC's World News Tonight.